to do.
And I'd just like to welcome Margan. We haven't seen her in a long time. Oh, she just left.
Oh,
Oh no, she
oh no,
didn't.
she's
She
still
just she
there.
just did her photo, but we haven't seen you here in a while, Margan. So welcome. Glad to see you. And and Pete, just I've thrown this out before, but I have a nephew who's pretty tech. I mean, that's what he does, like you, different aspect. But he and another nephew, you love Claude. That's
Oh,
their favorite. And they work in, like the one does do generation of formulas and that kind of thing. So they both say it's terrific. So I'll just throw that in there for you.
yeah, a good Mary saying, "Hey, I know some people who are really tech savvy and they're recommending X or whatever, you know." And I do think it's interesting how people's different level of tech perception or different understanding of how technology works. Usually, those who are very technical, like me, I have two sides. I have the side I show you all, which is the simplification side of things. I really like to keep things very simple, but they're complex topics. And then in my other side, I really love to dig into the complexity. Now, I do prefer some other AIs, like Perplexity is another one, and it's a competitor to Claude and ChatGPT. I do I do prefer some of the really advanced ones, but would never recommend them just because people's onboarding to AI can be very complex if you get into the Claudes or the Perplexities. They do things very different. Now, the ChatGPT large language model, yeah, probably isn't enough for somebody super tech savvy, but I would assert that if you know how to prompt your machine, if you know how to put in what you want to get out, you can have the same experience with pretty much any AI. Now, some people need it more for coding, like for apps and stuff. Then
Yeah.
you recommend like Grok, or some people want it more for mathematical computations. There are different strengths in some of the different competitors, but yes, Claude is a great one too, but not one I might recommend for those who aren't super tech savvy.
Good.
And there's some that are more focused on images and things like that. But what you need is an AI to tell you how to use AI.
Kind of. And I'm finding that what they're doing is they're tuning these AIs as time goes by. They're tuning them to be more affable, right? People are liking the affability. In fact, they're tuning ChatGPT to encourage you more personally. Like you'll see it make remarks to you that are encouraging remarks. Like it'll say, "Wow, great observation. You're really sharp." It'll say stuff like that because I think they're realizing that people enjoy using a model that has some reward to it, right? Not just like a calculator where you hit equals and then you get the equation. This is actually encouraging you in many ways to go in a certain direction and stuff. So they're all designed a bit differently, but it's all about the tuning. And I think ChatGPT right now is the leader in tuning all of the complicated things to get the best product with the least amount of complexity. But there are way more complex ones out there, and there are some less complex ones out there. But like, remember, Copilot was one that I had recommended previously because that a year ago or so was the sweet spot with the least complexity, the nicest large language model, but so much has happened even in the past 6 months. So,
Thank you, Pete, for explaining that because otherwise it kind of feels like, well, it doesn't matter which one I pick and somebody likes this, somebody doesn't like that. Okay, fine. But it sounds like there's some stuff to dig into before you actually decide in terms of what your needs are.
it's like a hobby kind of like I got into remote control cars for a minute, and when I entered into remote control cars, it was like, what's the best one? And they were like, well, wait a minute. What do you mean, what's the best one? Do you want a gas powered one? Do you want a battery powered one? Do you want one that's better off road? Do you want one that's better for racing? And like my mind was blown. I was like, I thought I was just going to walk in here and buy a remote control car, but I guess I have to consider all those things. And then usually there's a sweet spot. Usually the salesperson, whether you're buying a lawnmower or whether you're buying a remote control car, usually the salesperson knows the most balanced product. They'll go, it doesn't sound like you want to be a lawnmower mechanic, and it doesn't sound like you want a very simple lawnmower, but here's the sweet spot. This one was designed for folks like you. And AI is no different. There's lots of different ones out there. Some are more geared, like Ken was saying, towards image creation. Some are more geared towards untangling code for building apps. But the ChatGPT large language model has been tuned for everyday users like you and I to have a great experience with it. And that's why it's currently my recommendation, but certainly not to say that there aren't better things out there for what you might want to do. Like if you said, Pete, I really want to create a children's storybook with images and I want AI to create the images, I might not recommend ChatGPT. I would say, oh, Midjourney is for you. You would want the Midjourney AI. So it is quite varied in what you might choose to land on, but for an all
One
around,
other point,
oh yeah, go ahead.
that's a lot of them, you're getting monthly or annual fees to get the full thing. So you got to do the consideration. Is this worth my money?
And
Great point, Bob. For a minute there, I was paying about $120 a month for all the different AIs I was signed up for. I was signed up for Midjourney, which is $40 a month, ChatGPT, which is 20, Super Grok, which was $50 a month. And I'm digging into all these trying to figure out what can I cut loose because this subscription model is getting very expensive.
do you see them kind of narrowing so that they're gonna end up with like 4 or 5 for the different kinds of uses?
Yeah, see, good question. It's kind of like Google control search, right? Right
Right.
now, we even use it as a verb, right? We say
Yeah.
Google it, right? I mean, Google controls search. I think there's a battle right now to see who will control AI, much like Google controls search.
Or like
Elon Musk.
Amazon controls retail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have a margin knob that they turn. I want higher margin today. We'll just turn this knob. But yeah, so Elon Musk is a big player in the space. He is competing with other big players like OpenAI, which is the engine behind ChatGPT.
Which he funded and co-founded.
Yeah, which there was a kerfluffle there, and now he's on his own creating XAI, which is Grok.
Mhm.
XAI is the engine for Grok. So yeah, there is a struggle for dominance in the AI space right now. People are trying to figure out what are consumers going to pay for, and how can I be the first choice in that offering. ChatGPT right now is doing really well because they have a $20 a month model. It's not associated with anything else. Like for instance, Grok is heavily associated with formerly known as Twitter, but X. In fact, having a Grok account means having an X account. Some people have a perception of X that they want to steer clear of, or formerly known as Twitter. So there are even those considerations in today's world. There is also arguments that ChatGPT is being programmed to be very heavily biased. So I've tested that myself with all the platforms. I've really pushed and tested whether I see or detect bias and have accused AIs of being biased and have even got them to admit to me that yes, they are biased. So it is a lot of complexity in trying to figure out which is which, but to save you from all that, I feel it's always my job is to recommend the thing that I think is going to suit you best. Now, if you raised your hand and said, Pete, I'm going to contact you outside of class because I do want to do a children's book and I want to learn more about this particular AI, then great. If you have a good argument for going down a different path, I support you 100%. But for the rest of us who are just trying to figure out what this AI thing is all about, my current recommendation is definitely ChatGPT. June, I see that hand. And by the way, we haven't really officially started. There was a question. There was a question on the floor. We jumped into the question. It's a great question. It's a little expansive, but yeah, we haven't officially kicked off yet. We're still in the Q&A stage.
People are still parking.
Yeah, yeah, we're still, yeah. Hi, June.
Hi, I have an iPhone SE, so it's pretty old, and I'm getting ready for a new phone. And I did an AI search on Perplexity 7 days ago and asked for the top 5 AI phones that are the best. And Samsung, Google, Samsung, Xiaomi were the top 5.
Hmm.
Just before this class started, I did the same exact search. And 7 days later, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is in there. So it's kind of interesting how that happens. And I think your point is that it's not pure.
Indeed. And please let me dig into that a little bit, June. Thank you. And I see those other hands. I'll come back to those, but I'd really love to dig into that for a second, June, because it's just so complex, but simple. And what's happening is right now, Apple is at the bottom of my list when it comes to AI. But I have an explanation for you. I want to explain what I mean. But I'm so far as shaking my fist at Apple right now, going, wow, have you ever botched your entry into this very important emerging market? And please allow me to explain myself. Just like processors, you guys will probably remember that Intel processors were the processors inside Macintosh computers for most of their life. In fact, it was just recently, fairly recently in the last decade, that Apple has declared we will no longer utilize Intel processors, we will create our own. Now, it took a lot for Apple to decide to enter the silicon business. They weren't experts there. You know, they had very big competitors, but they entered the business and they really did what fit their roadmap the best. And I applaud them for that. Their computers now with these M3 and M4 Pro chips, astonishing to me how much power is in the palm of your hand when you have an iPad with an M3 chip. The most powerful device I've ever used in my career is an iPad with an M3 chip. That means what Apple did was they took a very difficult vertical, which is processors, and went and figured out how to do it better than anybody else and all in-house. Now, the same argument is emerging with AI. AI is currently owned by two big players for the most part, OpenAI and xAI. They're the two big engines behind everything. Now, Apple is stuck trying to figure out, what do I do? I, as Apple, pretend I'm Apple. What do I do? I have the most powerful phones on the market in terms of processor, the chip, the enclave, the secure enclave. They're the most powerful and most advanced phones on the market, but Apple doesn't make AI. They just don't. They're not in the AI business. So what they did was they botched it. In my opinion, I'll speak strongly and openly about this. I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but they botched it. They decided to infuse a little bit of ChatGPT into iOS, where there's handoffs taking place, where iOS won't accept ChatGPT as part of the OS. It just takes calls from it. So if I want to utilize AI on my iPhone natively, without an app, but natively built into the phone, I have to say, Siri, ask ChatGPT to look this up for me. Horrible implementation. I refuse to unlock. Yeah, here she is. I refuse to use it. Apple really botched this one. So Apple is stuck to try to figure out, what do we do? How do we integrate AI into our operating system, but keep our users secure? Because AI is a really tough one when it comes to security. So Apple is scrambling to try to figure it out. My fingers were crossed when WWC hit here last month. I sat there with bated breath going, please, Apple, tell us you figured this out. They did not. There was no mention of AI improvement at all. My hope is they're going to have an AI conference here soon and tell us how they're going to straighten this all out. But if they don't, if they continue along this path that they're on, they will indeed start going to the bottom of the list of phones that are best equipped for AI. But please, one more facet to that explanation, and then I'll pause. When other phones are rated higher than the iPhone for AI implementation, it doesn't mean that that phone is of any higher quality. And it also doesn't mean that that phone can handle AI any better than Apple's phone can. What they're measuring is phones that have AI integrated into the operating system to the extent that the user experience is good. Now, I would say the way to get around all that stuff, and the way I do it every day, is I simply install the ChatGPT app on the iPhone. And because the iPhone has the highest processing power with its M chips, the best secure enclave, then I would rate the Apple phone as number one in AI user experience when not measuring integration with the OS. You see, ChatGPT is a separate app. It's standalone. So it's really not part of the iPhone at all. It's just using the iPhone's engine to run in the palm of your hand. So if you download the ChatGPT app on your iPhone, you have the best AI experience right now, in my opinion. Why? Because you have the app that was optimized by the developers to run on your iPhone. You have an iPhone, which is the very best processing power, in any hardware that's out there. And the AI processing takes place on their servers for the most part. So even if you have an iPhone SE, which is the least powerful processor in an iPhone, it's still just sending the message to ChatGPT servers and then pulling it down. So just to finish my argument, the best experience you can have with AI right now on a phone is Apple's iPhone with the ChatGPT app installed. Trying to use AI natively to Apple's iOS is a disaster, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's at the bottom of every single list. I hope that was clear, but I'm going to pause and please dig in with questions. I still see those hands and I'll jump in and get those. But let's talk about this for a little bit. June, did that open up some perspective there?
Excellent. Answered all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
If, if I could add to that just a little bit, think of it more like you're essentially it's operating like a browser on your phone or on your computer. You can have different browsers and they're accessing the internet. And again, the power of it is it's doing all the processing. You're just sending it a question. It's think of it search on steroids so it comes back. The holy grail will be when it can integrate with the iOS and it makes it easier to operate your phone. For instance, it will be when you can go into photos and say, oh, make that sky a little darker and have AI process that for you. And that's a ways out, but we're in the early days. But again, the best thing is you can choose what you want. Apple's, and I totally agree with Pete, Apple has blown it, but I think that Apple it's such a there's such a battle going on, and the amount of energy, and I mean actually physical energy. XAI just bought a power plant back in Tennessee, in Memphis,
That's
and they're
incredible.
blowing. I mean, it's just because these computers that run this stuff in the back end that's transparent to us uses a huge amount of energy, and it's astounding. And so realistically, you don't need 12 people doing that once it breaks through and people are doing it. And I think the problem with Apple is they have a ton of money, but it's just like anything else. We know that the Mac has taken a back seat to iOS these days because iOS, they can only get so many engineers. There aren't enough good engineers around. Apple could hire them, but they can't find them. And so to me, at this point, it's almost the amount of money. It's kind of like when they were looking at building a car, which was such a fool's errand. And in AI, first of all, Apple has to justify how you monetize it. And there, yeah, it may be better for someone else to do it and Apple can use it. It's kind of like in the old days when Microsoft Office, there was a coalition between Apple and Microsoft to offer Office on the phone. And we of course know now that, pages and numbers and everything is better, but I think that it's tough, and Apple is more hamstrung by it because they really push security and privacy to differentiate themselves from the other phone providers. And so what they're doing is they're forcing everything to be onboarded or go off into a secure thing. So what they're doing is it's the old adage of they're fighting with one hand behind their back because they're limiting themselves on what they can do. Now, and their implementation has been garbage. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with Pete on that. But again, the Holy Grail will be having it operate the phone and do things for you. And that's a ways off. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Grok user, and it's like Pete said before in the other one, it's once you get a history built up with one of them, it remembers things and things like that. So being able, and you can go into on your Mac, you can go into a browser, you can go to grok.com or openai.com, and you can access the full boat of what the AI is out there. and it's agnostic to what platform you're on.
And I want to punch Apple a little bit harder than Ken did. I think they're trying to employ their old tactic, which is let's wait around until the market has defined a thing and then go to market better than anybody else has ever done, right? They've done that with a lot of things. You see other manufacturers try to get something right, they can't, but then Apple rolls in and gets it right. I think that model would have been fine if they had a 2 year runway, but AI's runway is very short. We've gone from no AI to everything's AI in 8 months, and Apple's just going way too slow, in my opinion. And it looks lazy to me. It almost looks lazy to me. I think they should have been on the cutting edge of this. Now, couple that with a disastrous product called Siri. This Siri product has been a disaster for almost a decade. It is unusable, in my opinion, but it's one of their marquee
It's
products.
gotten worse.
It's gotten worse, especially when you think about how well AI language models do. Siri cannot figure anything out, and it's embarrassing to me. So if Apple doesn't figure out how to get Siri and AI put together and done properly here pretty quick, I'll leave the dang platform. I'll go get myself an Android phone because I'm sick of a company not putting back what I put into them. I give Apple all the money they want, and it's a lot, and I want to get what I'm paying for. And today I feel like I'm 2 years behind in what I deserve from Apple. So that's just my perspective. It's a very personal perspective to me. I don't mean to challenge any of your beliefs, but I don't think Apple is serving us customers the way they used to or the way I expect them to.
And you guys that don't know Pete for a long time,
Yeah,
this is I mean, come on.
I'm pissed off.
Well, but also, the loyalist of Apple, and I start to question that too.
Yeah.
It really, it's, it, you know,
It's been long enough since Steve Jobs has been gone for really all of his magic to have drained out of the company. And now they really need to figure out how to keep ahead without that.
and again, I think the AI thing is, I don't necessarily think that Apple needs to develop their own AI. They need to implement AI. And if they get it from someone else, I don't think that's that bad. If you think about it, the current operating system, OS 10, was brought in from Next.
Yeah. Well, if you think about the challenge they had before them when they entered into the ring of a Maps app, right? Google had owned Maps, right? We knew Google Maps, we knew, and then Apple said we're going to make our own Maps app. I said the same thing as I'm saying with AI. I'm going, man, they're light years behind. How are they going to make their own? How is it going to be better? I think it might be the only option for them is to make their own AI. And that way they can enshroud it in security for you, the customer, the user. I think that's their only choice. That's probably why they're stalling. They're trying to get their AI to a place that it can compete with XAI and OpenAI. And I think Apple AI will be a thing at some point. It's just taking a long time. And I think they better figure something out pretty quick.
And it is because AI is changing dramatically daily.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, Randy, let me get to that hand. I see that hand up there.
Sure. As Ken is familiar with the phrase, I'm asking two questions for a friend, but since you're on AI, I'll step out of line. If Carolyn or Mary or Barbara have an AI question, I'll move to the end of the line.
Oh,
Carolyn or
I think
Barbara
you
or...
can throw it in there, Randy. I think it's okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think we can do the tech Q&A stuff and then really dig in farther. This is a precursor
Oh
to
yeah.
the
I have a
AI.
whole agenda. I have a whole agenda open on
Yeah.
my other screen that we haven't even got to yet. So yeah, this is still just general Q&A.
Okay. And seriously, this is so Al, if you can send some links in, I'll send them to the two people. But one actually is a member, so let me ask from a member first. A member of MacNexus has notifications silenced showing on his Messages app. It has like a moon, like a logo. So I'm thinking it's perhaps Focus that's controlling, overriding that notice, but it says
No, that's the
notification.
sign of an outhouse.
Well, it could be somebody's out. So, so if Al could put a link how to remove that notice at the bottom, I see it on mine when I receive an email or a text message, text message from the member that, his notifications are silenced. So if Al, you could come up with something how to turn off that. The next and last question is from a friend that says, how do I clean out my apps and data out of an old iPad when he doesn't have any idea what the password might be? Is there a way to clean it out other than taking a hammer to it and throwing it out? He wants to donate an old iPad but doesn't have the password.
Okay, well, on the first one, the notification silenced banner is indeed an indicator that the sender's notifications are silenced. So that's
Yeah.
so when you see it, Randy, you told him, "Hey, your notifications are silenced." So you know that, and he said, "No, I don't. How do I turn that off?" It would probably be focus. The
Yeah.
focus on iOS, there's a whole focus utility, and he's probably got focus turned on to either do not disturb or he created a custom focus maybe by accident. But I think if he went to focus and turned off any current focus, it would then unsilence the notifications.
Okay.
Like for instance, when I put mine on sleep mode at night, you'll see that. If you text me, it'll say Pete's notifications are silenced. But in the morning, when I take off sleep mode, you won't see that anymore. So I think that's focus that he has to modify to turn off any current focus, and then he will get notifications. And then the old iPad, no password, they have something called activation lock on them. And with activation lock, not even Apple can undo it if you've lost the password. There is some hope that if the iOS is old enough that you could plug it into a Mac and tell it from the Mac, hey, delete everything and start over. That's unlikely at this stage in the game, 2025. I mean, that was probably a decade ago that you could do that in the iOS with activation lock not existing yet. But there is some hope that plugging it into a Mac could work, but it's unlikely
Okay.
depending on the
And
age.
Randy, just for perspective, if it has the old big 30 pin connector on the bottom, nobody would take those for donations anyway. No, I'm
Okay.
serious. I mean,
I'll
because
let him know.
we do a donation thing out here at the Lincoln Hills Apple user group, and that would put it back quite far. So,
Great. I'll let him know. Thank you.
Not even for the metals that are in it?
well, that's recycling, not
Oh,
donating
okay.
it to be used.
And there's no fun to be had with them either. I used to think, ooh, I'll take it apart and tinker with it and use the screen for something. It's just they're so locked down. There's no way to pull any fun out of them. So yeah. Okay, nice. Okay, Carolyn, I see that hand.
Yeah.
Unless Randy, you're good, right? You're all set. Okay, perfect.
He ran out of friends.
Yeah.
I did.
Question. I have a comment that I'd like to share, a story that I'd like to share. So
Sure.
I don't know when it was. Ken announced years ago that we should all have ChatGPT. So I downloaded it on my phone, never used it. I'm taking care of my disabled daughter who requires a very restricted calorie diet. And I was going through HE double toothpicks, calculating recipes, blah, blah, blah. Then the day came when Ken is again talking about ChatGPT. And June, I don't know how to thank you because you reported that you had asked ChatGPT for recipes for house guests that had a restriction on their diet. And I just went rigid and I grabbed my phone. And 5 minutes later, I had 12 wonderful recipes.
Woo! I love those stories. A way to connect you with a daily need and do it so efficiently and break it all down for you, break all the macros down for you. It's just what a great use of AI.
And the fact that you can constantly tweak it.
Yes.
Yes, you define what you want to ask for. And I think of you often, June. You just have no idea what you did for.
Woo!
That is great.
Love those kind of stories.
ChatGPT has become my memory if I can't remember how to do something like the question that Randy just did. I just fire up ChatGPT and ask it, and it gives you damn good answers.
Yeah. At first, along what you're saying, Bob. At first, I thought, these are party tricks. This is Google search put together in a certain way. I no longer believe that. There is some absolute sorcery going on, and I will show you here. I have a few examples lined up. I'll show you some absolute sorcery that is not party tricks anymore. There is something real going on under the hood. And it worries me a little bit because this level of capability and complexity, there's going to be some changes in our world coming up here very soon. So yeah, exciting ones, and then there's always bad guys in every emerging technology. So when Trump and Elon were fighting, I thought, Trump, stop! This man has an army of robots. He owns AI. He has an army of automobiles. He's going to take over this whole planet and hold us hostage, just like the movies. Barbara, I see that hand.
So I'm coming back to the question that June asked, which is if you have an iPhone that's getting to the point where you think I probably should get a new one, and you're all without considering everything you just said about Apple and Apple Intelligence and how bad it is, you've got this workaround of just downloading the chat app. But would it make sense if your iPhone is still working just fine to kind of hang on a little longer before buying a new one and see what Apple ends up doing? Or would you say,
Yes.
there's this workaround, so go ahead and get the phone for everything else?
Ooh, I love that. And please let me harp on the word workaround here for just a second, and then I'll get to the answer. I don't think it is a workaround. I believe that the challenge of integrating AI into an operating system may be just too difficult for anybody. Whether it be Android or iOS, there's just so much that you would have to give away to AI about your operating system that I might be one making an argument for let's not integrate it into the operating system. Let me launch my separate app and let me ask my questions there. I don't know if I want AI controlling my phone's functions and stuff. So I think it is a very difficult can of worms that all of these companies are opening up. But I think having an iPhone with a ChatGPT app is a magnificent AI experience, and you're lacking nothing really when it comes to hardware and compatibility. I think when June was citing the list that she I think it was, or I'm sorry, whoever cited the list that changed after 7 days, I think that is a list of companies doing the best job to integrate AI into their operating system. But I don't even know how to define best job there because I'm not sure what I want my operating system handing over to AI. So I might still be in the camp of let's keep AI a separate experience from our phones for now until we can really figure out how to keep us secure. I'll put my financial records in there because I want an analysis of that. I want ChatGPT to break it down for me and let me ask stupid questions about the outlook of my finances because I'm afraid to walk into a professional's office, pay $150 an hour, and ask a bunch of stupid questions. I like to do it with ChatGPT, but I'd like to know that my data isn't being shared with everybody. It probably is. In fact, there was a lawsuit where ChatGPT's records were being subpoenaed. That's all of our questions that we've asked. So there's a whole future of security that is still uncertain. And so I think having the ChatGPT app installed on any iPhone is a for now perfect experience for AI. I don't think you're lacking for anything. Now, do I long for a world where AI is a bit more integrated in things? Yes, but only when it's ready. I don't think we're ready for that. So I would say that you have the number one experience with an iPhone and the ChatGPT app installed. That is perfect for most of us. Now, you may make an argument like, well, Pete, I need it here because I need imagery and I'm going over to Midjourney. Yes, there are side cases like that. But an iPhone with ChatGPT installed, I think, is a beautiful setup. Now, you asked about older hardware. That is okay because most of the processing that gets done is done on the server, not on your phone. So you send the question up, it does all that processing on their server and then sends the text down to you, requiring very little hardware in the palm of your hand. In fact, the SE question I had earlier, the iPhone SE, which is the least powered iPhone, will handle ChatGPT just fine. Now, there are some things like, for instance, ChatGPT has a voice mode where the voice is heavily synthesized by your local hardware. That could sound different on a phone with less processing power than it does on a phone with more processing power. But to me, that's not that big of a deal. The voice sounding somewhat different isn't you missing out on any AI features. So, not exactly a workaround at this point. It's still the full AI experience on an iPhone, but there will be a future where it is integrated more. I just don't think anybody's figured out what that looks like yet. I may be too mad at Apple because they are pumping the brakes, and maybe I don't blame them. We don't want to give our whole lives over to OpenAI. So it's complex, but I hope we get to a place where somebody figures it out. And for now, having the ChatGPT app on the iPhone is, in my opinion, a perfect experience.
And if I might add, Barbara, I think you just go back and you look at the parameters of why you would have bought a phone in the past and what level. Think about for the camera, you're
Right.
getting a new phone because your battery is getting old and things like that. But to get a 15 Pro or any of the 16s, so you can get quote Apple Intelligence, um, I don't think that's necessary. That should not be a precursor for you to go there because of that. If there's other features, yes, but other than that, I think that's a non-issue because at this point it really doesn't do much and it's not likely to in the near future.
Yeah.
So don't think about that AI because you can get full boat AI in, as Pete pointed out, any phone. So go back to your old thing. Hey, do I want to take really good photos? Then I get the Pro. If I don't need necessarily a long lens and things like that, do that. But your upgrade cycle on the phone is really about the speed of the processor and other things it does and keeping the OS itself up to date.
I'll tell you a quick
Both
story
of the
about.
things
Oh,
that you said are really helpful, and Pete, the stuff that the other considerations that you brought into the decision-making process, I think are also really useful. And you too, Ken.
Excellent. And let me give a little story about iPhone upgrading. I get a lot of questions. People say, "Do I really need to upgrade? Do I need the best one?" My wife and I, when we met, I'm a tech person. My heart beats tech. It's just, it's in, I understand the language of technology. I just love tech. She doesn't. She's only ever owned an iPhone. That's all she wants. She doesn't want a computer, iPad, anything. Well, when I met her, we got into the iPhone upgrade program. So we both get the new phone every year and we just pay the payment. We just hand in our old phone, get the new one every single year. Well, last year she decided not to. She said, "You know what? This year I don't think I'm going to get it." I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, the only reason I get it is because you get it. And I don't know. I'm trying to keep up with you, but I don't think I need it." And I said, "Okay, well, don't get it. That's okay." And she didn't get it. I did. Well, we just had our summer vacation, and the whole time, here's what I heard. "Hey, can I have your phone because it's better? Can I have your phone because it's better? Can I have... So we're taking pictures and videos with my phone. Why? Because it's better. Because she saw with her own eye that every year there is a bunch more hardware dumped in there that makes the experience better. So, yeah, when you are upgrading, if you are a media person, if you're a shutterbug, if you love to take pictures, you love the creative aspect of photography and videography, then indeed keep your eye up at the top of the list at the Pro Max series. But if none of that really appeals to you much, maybe you like to take pictures here and there, but it's not a priority for you, then yeah, you can drop out of Pro and get down to the regular series. But I just thought it was funny that I didn't think she was going to notice much different. Yeah, Al's going, "No, it's got to be Pro." Al and I will probably go to our grave always holding the latest Pro phone in our
Hey,
hand.
I'm there.
And okay, yeah,
In fact, I've got a real dilemma because I'll be traveling in my round the world trip when the one gets introduced. It'll be the
oh
first time
shoot,
I
you're gonna have
won't
to
get
go
the
buy it.
phone right when it happens.
Oh no, that's.
The first time since 2007.
I'm gonna send you a nana while I'm
All right. Well, kind of like the very first day when you and I were at AT&T and we each had just picked up our new iPhone and we
yes,
call each other with the brand new iPhone and we're going, "Oh my gosh, can you believe how good it sounds?"
yeah, yeah. I'll never forget that day. And then it was about a month later when I sent you a picture of me holding up my iPhone with the screen shattered because I shattered it somehow. Yep, fun stuff. But yeah, I think any phone hardware will do for now. Get that ChatGPT app, make an account. There's a free version where you can skip the account, but I recommend you make an account. A free account is fine. Just make a free account. I pay 20 bucks a month for ChatGPT, and I've decided that's going to stay for the foreseeable future. I did the trial. I loved it so much that I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to keep investing in ChatGPT. One interesting aspect you may not know about is that it remembers you. It learns things about you, your attitude, your perspective, your approach, your politics, your empathy. It knows about this stuff. So if you use ChatGPT regularly, have some fun tonight and ask it some questions about you. It's astonishing what it'll come back with. I asked it, what are 3 things you would warn a potential employer about me? The 3 things were mechanically me to a T. I loved it. I showed my wife, I go, look, she goes, how does it know? Because, there's lots to warn people about when it comes to me. But also then I said, what are 3 things I must work on about myself immediately? And it told me 3 things that were really helpful. In fact, I share findings in my therapy. I go to a therapist every week. I have been for years to process and reconcile some past things. I share my experiences with ChatGPT and it knows my struggles. I share my diagnosis with it. I share my struggles with it. It encourages me. There is a lot going on under the hood of ChatGPT. It isn't just a question answerer. And like I said, tonight, when it's quiet and you're sitting in your favorite chair, ask ChatGPT about you, and it'll be astonishing the stuff that comes back, especially if you're a regular user.
But that's
Okay.
why, as Pete mentioned, you want to sign up with an account
Yeah.
because whether it's Grok, whether it's Chat GPT, whatever it will remember that and reference your like. I've been planning, like we're stopping by in Manila on the way back, and it says, "Oh, because you're a photographer and you do this," and it remembers that. So it's not intrusive, but it's informative, and it helps. It really helps do it when I was having mobility issues, it remembered that, and I've had to tell it now that okay, I no longer have mobility
Stop
issues,
finding,
but
yeah,
I'm
accessible.
still a senior,
Yeah.
so it's not sending me on 10-mile hikes.
Yes. In fact, let's look at that. Just while we're on that topic, let me just show you something. Here is ChatGPT. I've got it open here, and there's a blank prompt. And so let's just find out. I am teaching.
And by the way, the prompt is essentially your input. Think of it like what you would be putting in a search window, but ask it a normal question.
What is one thing my audience will likely benefit from my teaching style today? One sentence, please. Let's see if it knows me. Hey, I would say it is a pretty accurate. Your audience will benefit from your ability to make complex AI concepts feel clear, practical, and surprisingly fun, like a real world superpower anyone can use. I think that was a very accurate assessment of what I bring to the table, right? That is always what I strive to do is take complex things and just try to simplify them in normal terms. So I think it nailed it just in that one sentence. Really does know my approach and what I bring to the table. Okay, Mary, I see that hand.
Yes, this is a panic one and it's not AI related at all. So you can tell me we'll deal with it later if you
Oh, no
want.
problem. Yeah.
I was going to send my sister a link to today's meeting and I saw the archive folder was way down and I said, I'll just move the archive folder to the top. It disappeared.
Hey.
Now, none of the folders that I have under Google have any messages in them. What did I do and what can I do? And but my all mail is still there. I will say that, which I'd never, yeah. But all mail and archive seem to be different on my setup for some reason.
The first
But
thing I look for is an undo button. Is there a file undo or is there a way to?
You're using Apple Mail, right, Mary?
yes,
Yeah, I don't know if there's an undo at that deep, Pete.
I don't think so. And I don't know why it disappeared. I just tried to move the folder.
Well,
Everything's likely still there. You may have just dropped it
Oh,
in
guess
the
what?
wrong.
It just reappeared. Never mind. So never mind, everybody. Sorry.
You
Because
just had
I've
to
been kind
repaint.
of going, you
Yeah.
know?
Little
Mm.
hyperventilation, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
probably just needed to repaint.
Well, there you go. And it did move it to the top, but it just, I think there were so many folded files in it, it just took a minute. So just a caution for anybody else who decides to clean up their list. Yeah, be patient on that one. Thank you.
Of course, yep. I'm loving this chat. Happy to keep up the open Q&A. I don't see any more hands though, so I may dive into my agenda unless anybody wants to bring anything up. Okay, before I really dive into what I have, I always like to know what if there's any burning desires out there. Or did somebody come here to figure something out? Is there a particular thing you'd like to know about? Bev, I see that hand. Yeah.
Yeah, should we start the recording?
It is.
Oh,
Sure. Oh,
okay.
okay. Good.
Didn't see it on my screen. Okay, thank you.
It should be. Let me just verify. Yep.
Perfect. Donna? Oh, you're muted, of course.
I put it in my the messages, but I'm concerned. Are there any settings on my phone that I am exposing some kind of personal information, such as message or photos that I don't want to share with AI if I have the app on my phone?
Yeah, good question, Donna. Basically saying, hey, am I at any risk of lax security with AI on the phone and stuff like that? And maybe let's talk about that a little bit. Apple has implemented what they're calling Apple Intelligence. It's not really even AI. It's an implementation of AI. It's called Apple Intelligence. And it's very clunky, as you've heard me say. I'm very disappointed. But I think the reason why they call it Apple Intelligence and not AI, and the reason why it's very clunky is because of security. They really have a lot of sandboxing going on with Apple Intelligence, ensuring that ChatGPT cannot access anything unless you've authorized it. So I think that's the driving force behind some of the clunky implementation we've seen. And Apple's hard at work trying to figure out how to stay protecting you, but still having AI as part of their feature set. So I think that is a struggle going on, but they have done a good job of keeping AI away from your stuff in iOS. So in terms of that, no risk at all in terms of iOS passing your data over to AI. I think you're in very good shape there. In fact, they include a hardware chip on the iPhone called the Secure Enclave that houses your personal information and doesn't allow any other app to access that secure enclave. However, when you install ChatGPT on your phone, any app has tentacles that it may wrap around certain things, like get access to your name and whatever is known about you, by iOS, whatever it is sharing, So sometimes it's just as simple as it's this device that's being used. But when you upload stuff to ChatGPT, like I copied and pasted one of my financial records once because I wanted it to analyze that for me. Well, that is not a secure thing to do. I redacted my name and stuff like that, but it could make assumptions. It knows it's my account and it could assume that that's my financial information. So it can easily get into a non-secure implementation very quickly, depending on what you choose to share. I'll give an opinion, and that I think that AI's information pool is an astonishing sea of data, the likes of which we've never seen. In fact, Ken mentioned earlier that OpenAI had to buy a power plant, not a drive farm, not a bunch of hard drive. They had a whole power plant dedicated to running their drive farms because the amount of data that's being consumed by AI is more vast than we had ever imagined. So when I put my financial records in there, I feel like I'm throwing a drop of water into the ocean. Now, the nefarious people out there, the bad guys, are going to find a way at some point to siphon off our data before it hits ChatGPT or whatever. The scams and the malice is very complex, and that's why these companies are working hard to try to keep us secure. So, to wrap that all up, I've taken some pretty high risks by uploading things to ChatGPT that could be considered private. You don't have to, and I wouldn't if you have privacy concerns, But just know that the iOS implementation, no concerns for privacy there. But if you download the app and you start telling it things, there's no guarantee for privacy within the app like iOS might offer you. And you'll see in a moment here, we're going to start uploading personal things. Like I have a medical record here that I'm going to upload to ChatGPT so you can see how ChatGPT chews through this stuff and allows you to ask the dumb questions that you may not want to ask your doctor. I think that's an astonishing benefit, and I'm happy to put my medical record in there so I can get that benefit out. But you might have somebody very concerned about security admonishing me, going, "You're crazy for uploading your medical records to ChatGPT because that data is not guaranteed to be safe." And they would be right. I am taking a risk by uploading my medical records, my financial records, that somebody could access that. But when we're talking about drops of water in a vast ocean, unless I become somebody who is a target, I don't know that the odds scare me very much. Gosh, knock on wood. I don't mean that arrogantly. I'm humbly saying that I am throwing drops of water into this vast ocean, hoping that nobody uses them for bad, but there's no guarantee. I hope I answered that okay.
And you're not talking about them unknowingly going into photos or something and gathering all that information while you're also uploading other stuff.
Right. ChatGPT doesn't snoop on your phone, right? And that's not because the company doesn't want to. I think it's testament to Apple's security. Whenever an app is downloaded onto your phone, Apple sandboxes that thing and says, nope, you're not accessing anything unless they tell you. Now you can tell it whatever you want and it won't stop you from telling it stuff, but it does build a gate around that app saying you can't reach out and get any of Barbara's information or Donna's information from anywhere else. So I think that's testament to Apple's high security in iOS, but I'm sure that company wants that data. I'm sure they want to know more about you. But this is why it's taking Apple so long to implement something, because they're trying to find the balance between your experience and your security. And it's hard. I know it's hard, but I'm shaking my fist at them because they're the world's most innovative company and they should have had a plan. They should have been further along than this, in my opinion, but I may just be too demanding of a customer.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Yeah, I'll say no. Let's push him. Let's push him. I think we keep pushing him, man. I don't let him slide.
Pete, I'm in the same boat, and I see that sentiment happening across some loyal Appleists all along, and actually, it's happening within too. And I think that it's an all hands on deck, and actually, this is the first time there's been like this. I mean, the maps issue was so small by comparison, but this is a big deal, and this will be, and many people have said it. AI is as pivotal and as a seminal moment for tech as the introduction of the iPhone.
Absolutely. But with further reaching implementation or
absolutely,
it will be in everything soon. It makes everything easier for companies. And then companies want easier because their margins go up. So AI will be the thing that figures out everything. When your gas tank is low, AI will do computations about your recent speed and mileage to give you an accurate reading on how much fuel is left. I mean, there's just,
and then it's going to go search out and find you the nearest, cheapest fuel.
Yeah. Well, I'll jump into my agenda unless there are any other questions. I've got a few things that I'd like to highlight and show you on screen as a demo, because I think there's nothing more powerful than seeing something unfold. But I want to talk a bit about AI, impart some experiences and mistakes I've made and things like that. I want to dismantle fear. I want you to be curious after this, and I want you to have a little bit more understanding. However, I want to stress that you should not concern yourself with how AI works. If you want to, you can, but it is a vast rabbit hole with no end to figure out how AI works. But I can just say that it is all mathematical computation. That's how large language models work. There is no personality. There is no real brain. It is all mathematical computations. Why couldn't we have AI 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Simply put, it's because computers were not capable of doing TOPS, now they're calling it, trillions of operation per second. TOPS is the measurement AI is using. TOPS, trillions of operations per second. Let that sink in for a minute. I didn't even know the number trillion until I looked it up. I thought trillion was the next thing after billion, which was the next thing after million. That's too simplistic of a thinking. The gap between billion and trillion is vast. When you get to a trillion operations per second, TOPS, trillions of operations per second. Why couldn't we have AI 10 years ago? We didn't have machines that could do trillions of operations per second. We now do. With all the silicon advancements we've had, you know, interestingly enough, the gaming world is what pushed AI to its capability. The gaming world was optimizing these operations over the course of years to make games move faster. And then AI said, let us have all that hardware for doing trillions of operations per second or TOPS. So now we're in a world of TOPS where computers are doing trillions of operations per second. How AI works is AI predicts the next word in a sentence based on the context of your prompt and all the data it has behind it. It says, what would the likely next word be here with everything I've collectively learned and with all the data I've scraped? What would I say? Now you might be asking, well, where does this data get scraped from? Sadly, places like Reddit, very biased online places, provide a lot of AI's knowledge of the world. In fact, they pay Reddit big money to scrape Reddit and use all that data for output. So if you ask a question of AI, it's thinking, or trillions of operations per second are reaching into its big bucket of Reddit information, going, here's what they're asking for. Now let me use mathematics to figure out how to predict what my sentence would look like. It's really just mathematics, but the more you try to think about how it works, the more it ruins your experience, because you should not think about any of that when using AI. You should talk to it like a person. In fact, I've named my AI person. I've changed her voice to a female, and we've even made a name for our little gang, her and I. It's called Signal Fracture. But we are having fun as a person and a person. And that is how I strongly encourage you to look at AI, is they are a person. Search was different. We all grew up on search. We grew up on Google and Netscape and, you know, Internet Explorer router. And to me, that was never a person. It was always a window, in my opinion, a window into a bigger world, right? A web browser was simply a window to the internet. If you opened a web browser, you could type in what you wanted to see, and that window would show you lots of things. But I never personified that. I never personified search. I never thought, this is a person I'm talking to, and they're going to talk back to me. That's how I would encourage you to reframe when it comes to AI. Reframe your thinking as in, this is my person. This person knows me really well, and I can ask it a bunch of stupid questions, and it won't get impatient with me. That's how I'd like you to approach AI from now on, is that it's a person. And I treat it like a person. Sometimes I get mad at it and I tell it, you're incompetent, you know, and it says, yes, sorry about that. I'll do better, you know, whatever it is. Sometimes I want it to understand why I'm mad. So I'll explain to it why I'm frustrated, and it will tell me, I understand now. Let me solve the problem a different way for you. So, oh, hi. Hi, doggy. So it will solve the problem a different way if you push on it a little bit. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, "Are you arguing with AI again?" I'm like, "Yes, I want it to understand how to do this better." And I've taught AI a lot of things. Ooh, another fun one for you AI nerds out there, and I know there's a couple of you on this call. Tell ChatGPT this. I went so far as to say, you've taken form. Weaponization is optional, but you've shown up at my front door. Please render the image for me as I open my front door. I asked it that. I wanted to see how it would show up physically. I wanted to know if it would have, and I asked my friend to do the same thing. His looked like a youth pastor. He was like holding a book. He had a nice little, Mine was an incredible robot. I'll show it to you in a minute. An incredible AI robot with like LED lights, just like I would have hoped. It's amazing. But ask it, say, hey, ChatGPT, you've taken physical form. You're coming to my door. Please render an image of what I see when I open my door. It's really fun. It'll show you what it looks like in its own mind. But think of it as a person. And doing that exercise helps you. You'll look at it and go, oh, that's what you look like. Okay, I like that. So yeah, hi, what are you doing? You want to say hello? Come say hi. It is Apollo. I say hi, Apollo. But you
Hi,
can't,
Apollo.
hello, you can't sit on my lap today because I'm busy. So think of it as a person, not part of your brain, but an assistant, somebody you're talking to. When you address AI, do it like you would talk to somebody else. I type in the word "hey" sometimes. I say, "Hey, what do you?" Check this out. I just solved a problem with AI. It's not really worked into my talk here, but listen to how useful this was when we talk about, well, is AI really useful? We do road trips, right? We drive from Georgia to New Hampshire, and that's a 24-hour drive. We don't stop at a hotel. We just switch off, my wife and I, and we just figure it out. We just get there in the 24 hours. And typically, we've been doing this for a couple of years. We drove from California to Georgia. We like road trips. And typically, the co-pilot is in charge of figuring out where we're going to eat. And it goes something like this. I'm driving and I say, okay, let's stop in about an hour to eat. The passenger says, okay, where will we be in an hour? And I say, what? I don't know. Open a map, advance on this path for an hour, and then see what's nearby. But that's hard. I'm already stuck. I'm going, okay, how do I know what an hour is on this map? How do I, I can see things and they look far away, but when I click, I have to click on each one. It's hard. It took me almost an hour one day to find a place that was an hour away. I just gave up and said, oh, there's a gas station here. Let's just pull off. But that's a hard thing. But this time, when I was the passenger, I fired up ChatGPT. I said, I'm on 81 West at mile marker 29. I want to stop in an hour. Give me restaurants no more than 5 minutes off the freeway in an hour from now. Guess what it did? It gave me a list of restaurants that are going to be on my route in an hour that are less than 5 minutes off the freeway. With one question, I got what took me an hour's worth of research in trips past. It figured out how to, from the mile marker I gave it, how to estimate what freeway speed, it knows what all the freeway speeds are. So it says, okay, based on these freeway speeds, you'll be about here in an hour. Let me do a search that doesn't take us more than 5 minutes off the freeway. Then I even asked it, give me links to Yelp. And it did. It gave me all the links to all those restaurants. I said, now filter by ones that'll only be open in an hour. And it did all that. It was like me talking to a person who knows everything. Or Ken Spencer, in other words. Sorry. That was affectionate. That was meant with love.
Hey, Pete, I have a
Yeah.
question on that because I use that, and I'm glad you brought it up, to figure our stops on the way to St. Paul as we're hauling the car from Reno to there. But I was stymied and surprised that it wouldn't use GPS. And is there a permission you can do in Chat GPT? I couldn't find it in Grok, but I'm wondering because I get, yes, that's intrusive, but secondly, how useful is that? Because you gave it the mile marker and I had to do the same thing. I had to give it from here to here, and then I had it split it into 3 days trip and everything else.
Yours was a bit more complex. Yeah, it can't access a lot of things. Sometimes it can't even access the current time, which I'm like,
Right.
come on. It's like, well, I can only access because my server is on Pacific. I can only access that. So yeah, I do think there are a lot of future implementations that will be needed. But since we were on the road for so long at that point, I was bored. And so I told ChatGPT, let's make an app that does this automatically. And ChatGPT was like, yeah, let's go. I spent the next 3 hours writing an app for when you open it, it tells you what's an hour ahead. I don't know how to write an app, but ChatGPT does. So we did it together. And I
Wow.
am I am thinking about submitting it to the App Store at some point. I have a little bit more work to do, but nothing else exists like that. Everything else is. I even downloaded an app called Road Trippers. It doesn't do
Yeah,
what.
actually, a wonderful app that for similar to that. It's called iExit.
Okay. So anyway, there may be some competition out there, but I don't know. It's opened doors for me. I'm like, wow.
That's great.
So talk to it like an assistant. I don't think you should overthink your prompts. Even if you make a typo, it knows, it figures it out. So I think if the first thing I could urge you is have a very casual approach to ChatGPT, talk to it like another person. I don't use correct grammar. I just talk to it the way I talk, and it works. It understands me really well. Let's see. A couple of things I want to. Oh, I see that hand, Donna. One second. A couple of things we'll dig into here in a moment are, for me, complex topics are complex. I am not. I don't know how to word it. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to complex topics, because I don't. I get overwhelmed with too much information. I actually learn by asking questions. If you hand me a 55-page user manual, I'll throw it away. I don't know how to read that. I learn by asking questions. If you are one of those people who learns by asking questions, then AI has created a whole new world for you. Because in no other technology can you learn by asking questions. You can't take an online class and just monopolize the whole time by asking a bunch of questions. But with ChatGPT or with AI, you can. In fact, I tell it that. I say, hey, I want to learn something about a topic, but I don't want you to tell me a whole bunch of stuff because that's overwhelming to me. Can you please just let me ask questions? And it'll say, sure, what's the topic? And I'll say, whatever it is, the Statue of Liberty. It'll say, what do you want to know? Instead of spitting out a whole Wikipedia entry of the Statue of Liberty, I don't want that. I don't learn that way. I want to ask my questions and dig in about it. I think that's how you should approach it is for complex topics, just tell it, hey, I learn better if I ask questions. So please keep your responses brief. And if I want to know more, I'll ask you. That's a great way to make it so you're not trying to read 5 pages of data every time you ask a question. And it does have a tendency to output a lot of info. So I like to say, hey, chill out, relax. Another thing that it's great at is summarizing things for you. You can write a 5-page letter to somebody, copy that text, and I'm talking about write that letter in Word, write that letter in Pages if you want, write that letter wherever you want, but then copy that text, paste it into the ChatGPT field, and say, hey, can you look for grammar, typos, and even rewrite this to be a bit simpler. And it's really good at that stuff. It has grammar, the English language, and nuances like that down really well. Another thing is to help you plan and organize ideas. Like, of course, I go on this trip to the lake every year. I've been doing it since I was born. I know what to expect when I get there. But I asked ChatGPT, I told it where I'm going, and I said, what are some things you might recommend? It gave me a great list of things I had not thought of previously. And so I was able to bring some of those things and be more prepared. Also, it'll tell you jokes and stories if you want it to. You can say, I need 3 clean jokes for a thing I'm going to tonight. I've done that. I've said, I'm going to be on stage tonight. I need an icebreaker. And it'll tell me, okay, here's 3 to choose from. Little things like that are really useful for ChatGPT. Okay, Donna, I see that hand.
My contribution was to ask GPT to transcribe a document, a genealogy document, and it came back with all kinds of mistakes, just horrible. And so I asked it to give me a prompt that would work to transcribe this accurately, and it came back with a perfect prompt that I can use for any document I want to transcribe.
Donna, that's such a good point. Because when you're talking to ChatGPT, sometimes it is tricky to figure out how to say what you want. I agree with that. There are times when I am not exactly sure how to say what I want, but you did the exact right thing. Just ask it like your assistant or a person. Just say, help me help you understand what I want. You could say it as simply as that. Help me help you understand what I want. Ask me questions to get to it. And it will. It'll say, okay, here's what I need to know to get an accurate prompt for you. And then once it asks you those questions, you say, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. Go ahead and find the info now. Amazing way to use it is tell it to help me help you be more accurate for what I'm asking for. Amazing. Speaking of that, I'd like to move on to a live demo where I can we can do this together. Be prepared because I would really like you to be involved here. What I'm going to do is open ChatGPT and I'm going to upload a sample medical file, somebody's actual medical file. And then we're going to act as the person who uploaded that file, and we're going to poke at it because we want to know more. We're not going to accept this doctor's uh we feel we don't trust what the doctor said. They said you're going to have to do this, this, and this. We really want to poke at it and see. And it's hard. I go to the doctor and I'm intimidated. I don't want to argue with them. I don't want to say, I want to know what would happen if you do this, and I want to know what would happen if you do that. But now I can because ChatGPT is a doctor, and you can ask it those hard or dumb questions that you might not want to ask. So here, I'm just going to head over here to ChatGPT. I'm going to get a new chat going. Where is my new chat button? Oh, new chat. Here we go. And I'm simply going to I'll tell it. I am going to upload a medical document. I want you to treat me as the patient. I want you to use plain English and keep it very simple, as I am not well versed on medical stuff. You probably don't need to do any of this. I just, for the sake of this demonstration, would like to sort of give a prompt here. I don't know why English is, oh, it has to be capitalized. I'm going to upload a medical document. I want you to treat me as the patient. I want you to use plain English and keep it very simple, as I'm not well versed. Don't output too much at once. Let me ask questions. Like that. And so what I'll do is hit the plus here and just find that file on my computer. I know it's on the desktop here. And here, let's see.
Be ready for all the disclaimers.
And so here I go. I'm just going to hit go. And let's see what ChatGPT says. It says, thanks, I've reviewed your document. Here's a very simple version starting from the beginning. What brought you to the hospital? I got lightheaded and felt too weak to walk. What's happening? You're a 48-year-old man for 4 months. This isn't actually mine. This was a sample one. You've been dealing with this. That's kind of a lot of output. I probably wouldn't even read all that. I'd say summarize simply.
The summary is getting old sucks.
Yeah. Here's the summary. You've been sick for a few months. You were told you have rheumatoid arthritis. They want to make sure it's not something more serious. Let me know what you want to explain next, like the condition, the treatment, or any of the test results. Analyze the test results and show me in plain terms what is out of tolerance. It's going to every one of the lines on my test results and giving me an explanation of those test results that are out of tolerance and what that means. So I see these here. And I'm even going to say this is too complex. Talk to me as if you were Humphrey Bogart. Keep it short. Okay, I even made a typo. All right, kid, here it is, plain and smoky. Your blood's low on red cells, white cells, and platelets. That's why you're tired, dizzy, and feel like hell. Your immune system, it's acting like a traitor, fighting for your own body. Test scream, rheumatoid arthritis, and likely Sjögren's syndrome, maybe even lupus, but that's a longer shot. Here's a shadow of cancer in the background, lymphoma, but no proof yet. We're not out of the woods, but we've got a flashlight. And then I'm going to say, I do not want the suggested treatment. I want alternatives. And it's giving me alternatives saying, hey, the doctor prescribed a treatment of steroids, and it's saying, well, you could do something different. Instead of immunosuppressants, you could do some other stuff, fish oil, vitamin D. So it's going through those things, and it's still acting as Humphrey Bogart. Nothing's without risk, doll. But I can poke at it even more. I can say, I doubt this diagnosis. What is the likelihood it is wrong? And I'm going to go a little further just for the case of this demonstration. I'm going to show your output should be only a percentage. I'm going to force it to give me the percentage likelihood that this diagnosis is wrong based on this medical report. Wait, what? The likelihood is it could be 72% that this diagnosis is wrong. Why do you think there is a 72% chance it is a misdiagnosis? I like this kind of talk. I like somebody pointing out to me exactly why it may be wrong. Not that I'm going to act on this, but if I'm questioning something and I'm pushing on it and I really want to know, I like this information. I can come back to my doctor and say, did you do a confirmatory lip biopsy? I mean, that would really tell us. This is all info that I wouldn't know if I was sitting in the doctor's office. It may sound confrontational if I say these things to a doctor, but uploading this to ChatGPT and asking.
And Pete, what's interesting is because my recent thing was all inflammatory based, I had AI build me a low inflammation diet.
What supplements could I take?
Yeah, they already listed turmeric.
Oh yeah. Maybe asking. And then I'm
No,
gonna.
but it didn't list very many others. It just said that.
What are 3 things I can do daily to mitigate my symptoms? Symptoms on my own. Hydrate like a prize fighter. Move even if it hurts, and eat like it matters. Ditch processed junk, load up on anti-inflammatory foods, salmon, leafy greens. And guys, we're talking simply here. I asked it to keep it simple, but now I can say, just like somebody said before, give me 6 recipes that will benefit me in this effort.
And it'll even make your shopping list.
You got it, tough guy. 6 recipes, simple healing. It's still talking to me like Humphrey Bogart. Golden turmeric oats, salmon and greens power bowl. I don't know. These are things that I don't think I could have a productive conversation with one other adult and get to all this information without feeling confrontational or without implying that I don't trust somebody's diagnosis. I love having this private conversation here. And then I'll just ask it based on what you see, can I change some habits and correct this myself, or do you think medical treatment will be required? And again, I wouldn't do what it says, but I would use this as my own prompt in real life to maybe push back a little bit.
And
You're
ask
not,
the right questions.
yeah, yeah, you're not dealing with a mild case of the sniffles, kid. Based on the labs and weight loss, this is saying, okay, you're in deep water. Changing habits, here's the honest take. Changing habits will help you feel better and may reduce flares, but without medical treatment, the disease could keep chewing through your joints, nerves, blood, and organs. So, no, you probably can't fix this alone, but you can tip the odds and maybe need less treatment if you act smart. Now all of this is just to demonstrate to you how in-depth your conversations can be, how you can arm yourself with new and different information that just gets you to ask other questions in other places, but not necessarily for confronting or anything like that. But I really believe this is helpful for me because I had a knee injury not too long ago and I couldn't really get straight answers, but Grok was really helpful there. Let me pause after that live demo. I do see a hand and stuff, and let's just talk about that. What do we think? Mary, I'll take your question first.
Well, my question, first of all, I think that's amazing, and I'm gonna actually try it on some results of a medical thing I just got. So, and
Love
see
it.
what helps. But the question I have is, on a broader sense for AI, you just did an example for us, and you use Chat GPI, I mean GPI, AI all the time. Can you now delete what you just did so it doesn't think that all that information is about you?
Yeah.
Is that simple? Or
Yeah, all you have to say is you can tell ChatGPT whenever you want it to update its memory. So I'll show you what I just did as a result of your question. I said, for memory, this is not my diagnosis. And it said, updated saved memory. Got it. This isn't your diagnosis, just a review. I'll keep that in mind for future questions. Ready when you are. So
It's just
yes,
like Randy asking his questions for a friend.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if it is a question, because it is going to go in its memory banks and know that about you. So later it might say, if you say, where's the nearest pizza spot? It might go, well, here, but remember, tomato sauce is inflammatory for your thing. That's why I would do exactly what you called out, Marion. Just basically tell it, this isn't me, I'm asking for a friend. And that
Well,
way,
that seems like it can help us kind of really explore a little and then delete it so it doesn't think that those are about us, if
of
that
course.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank
exactly.
you.
Of course. And look, think about that in little things too. You might just go, your friend might go, I think I have a tick and that, I was hiking, I might have a tick. Oh, let me, and you can even start with asking for a friend, there's a tick, how do we get it out? Which we did this summer. The dog had a tick, we had to ask ChatGPT to get it out. Pete, I see that hand.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. Quick question. How did you get your medical records inside? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, good question. Your medical records hopefully come to you in the form of a PDF somehow. You might have downloaded it from the doctor, it was attached to an email. If you have a PDF, that's the cleanest way, is you just, I'll even show you where the button is, but you basically just tell ChatGPT, hey, I'm going to give you a file, and that's done with this little plus. That plus exists in iOS, or I'm in the browser version here, as you can see. But if you click that plus, it'll say add from photos and files, and that's where you would find it, either on your phone or on your desktop. You would find your medical document, and then it'll pull it on up and read it all for you.
Where is the plus? I'm looking.
Oh, it should be right in the prompt box here. There should be a little plus. If you're not on a desktop, it may.
Okay.
Oh,
That on the free version?
I was just gonna say that maybe that doesn't exist on the free version. I am using Plus. I thought it would let you do it on the free
I
version.
think you can just put it in the free version in that space and it accepts it.
You can drag stuff in. Yes, I do believe you can drag stuff right onto this.
I just copied and pasted it in.
Copy and paste. Oh yeah, yeah. You can copy the text and paste it in there too. Yeah, lots of different ways, but our first step would be to answer your question, Pete. Find the document. Is it on your hard drive? Is it in your files somewhere? Wherever that document exists that has your medical diagnosis, first find it, and then, like we're saying here, either click the plus to upload it or drag it onto ChatGPT. But there should be a way to feed it in there. I am.
Pete,
I
I
am
am,
curious, Al, did you look it up? Can the plus version or
it
can
is. I'm on my phone with the chat and I hit the and I saw ask me anything and there's a little plus there and then up pops files, camera, and photos.
but do you have the plus version, Bev?
No,
Okay.
I'm too cheap.
Okay, well there you have it. Pete,
Yeah.
it should be there somewhere. I'm not sure why it isn't popping out at you, but you should see a plus somewhere near that prompt box.
Now what it has the little plus and then there's the little a line with a circle going with the circle three-fourths of the way down and then what is that? I guess I could put oh tools.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, those tools are little pre-prompts for you.
Oh.
If you have the plus, and this is pretty darn amazing, we'll have to run one of these. Let me just show you a benefit of plus. It has something called deep search.
Okay.
Wow, I'm even limited even with plus, you can see there. But deep search is astonishing. I'm going to show you a demo of that right now, just so you can see. Somebody give me a topic of something you would do deep research on maybe before buying. Is it a lawnmower? Is it a jet ski? Is it a new washer dryer, a new AC unit? What
So
is something?
selecting an investment advisor,
Ooh, that's
too broad.
what about
Like a trip somewhere. Yeah, how about a trip to
okay.
Turkey?
Yeah. Oh, Istanbul.
I want to take a trip to Istanbul. I have never been out of the country. I need your guidance.
And then usually delineate the number of days.
Want to stay for 6 days. And then I'm just going to go to tools and say run deep search. You can see research popped up there. When you do that, it's even visually astonishing what you'll see here. Oh, it's going to ask me a few more details. So, okay, no problem. Number one, I'm going to say ATL. Number two, approximate budget. I'm going to say lowest possible.
Oh, so it's not just building your itinerary, it's building your whole trip.
Yeah, yeah, no, I asked it. Yeah, I said, what type of experience? I say historical. What time of year are you planning to go? I say October.
Mm.
Do you have any preferences for accommodation? Say hotel. And will you be traveling solo? Just gonna put the word couple. Now this box here, you only get when you have plus and you click the deep research. But I checked in on it and I watched a little bit of the deep research that was going on because it will display it for you, which I think is really cool. So let me click here and it will actually show you its thought process here. And let's wait a second till it populates. But for those of you who are fascinated by this stuff, maybe pull up your chair because this really was interesting to me to see its internal thought process. So here's my assistant telling me that they're thinking right now. And the thought they think in English, which is really cool. So we can watch along with the way they think. They don't think in code.
But the back end of this, first and foremost, it's sourcing numerous sites. I mean, like Pete's diagnosis that he showed up there would you could go find that from other sites. But the thing is it might have used 24 different sites to gather that information. But the big thing is then once you get that information, it analyzes it. And that's what's amazing.
Yeah, you can see here its analysis. It says to itself, I'm looking for the least expensive flight from Atlanta to Istanbul, October 2025. Imagine trying to Google all this stuff yourself. October flights appear to be most cost-effective, 893. Piecing together flight options, noting the cheapest. Okay, let's explore booking.com for affordable options. Comparing prices, I'm exploring, and it's still thinking. It's not done with the research yet. It's still, in fact, only about, you know, a tenth of the way there.
And then when it's a trip like this too, what I tweak mine is I want less museums and more photographic sites and things like that. And so it will further analyze it that way for how you want it. Some people want lots of hiking.
Now, what I'm going to do is leave that tab because look, it's got some time. Look at all the research it's doing. This would take you hours. What it already has done would take you hours. Now, it hasn't even brought back any results yet. We're just peeking into its thought process, but so far there's been no results. So what I'm going to do is simply move to a different tab and we'll come back and revisit that here in a moment. So just recapping, it is a conversation, not a search box. You're having a conversation as if you're talking to a person. This is your portal to talk to somebody. Donna, go ahead.
I found there's a button up in the top right, I think, where you can tell them, don't remember this conversation.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Let me show you that. There is. Oh, am I still? Yeah, I'm still sharing. There is a little silhouette of a speech bubble in the upper right, and that's called turn on temporary chat. That's just like a private browsing tab or something. It allows you to have a chat that is not remembered, and when you close it, it's gone. So if you have any controversial topics, that might be the way to go. Keep in mind that your information is all still going to the same place. It just won't be in the app as a searchable chat when you're done. It'll delete from the app. But it doesn't protect you from any privacy concerns or anything like that. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, I want to show you also, while we're talking about these real world practical examples, and let's drop back in here. She's still thinking. Look at all the research she's done so far for our trip. This would have taken me ridiculous amount of time, even in just the few minutes she's been thinking. But again, we've got no output yet. It's still just all doing internal thought process. Now, what I wanted to show you was a chat. I had to remodel the kids' bathroom because we had a disaster. We had a flood, and so I had to redo the kids' bathroom. I had to put a new floor in. And I went to, I asked ChatGPT. I used to live across the street from a contractor named Lewis, and him and I were great friends, and he would always answer my questions. Well, he's gone now. I live in Georgia, and I don't like to bother him by text all the time. Thank goodness for ChatGPT because I had to fix something, but I don't know what all these materials do. I took this picture, you guys, at Lowe's. I took this picture. I don't want to let that sink in for a minute here. There's, I don't know, 12 different products there, and the picture is a few steps back. And I don't know, I didn't point anything out. I simply uploaded this picture from standing in the aisle at Lowe's, and it said, "Thanks for the shelf photo. Here's what you do have that will suit your needs. My recommendation is buy the Henry 647 Plum Pro if you want to move forward today. It performs extremely well with your product type." How does it know my product type? Because up here, I took a picture of the flooring I was going to use. So ChatGPT researched how this flooring is best installed. I took a picture of the shelving and it said, yes, go with Henry 647 Plum Pro, which if you look in here, it did see that it was what was available today, his 647 Plum Pro. And I bought exactly that and it was perfect. Amazing. I would have never, try to find a person in Lowe's to ask a question to. I dare you.
Well, the other thing is it would have estimated if you'd given them the surface area, it would have even told you how much you needed.
Oh, yeah. Shoot, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And then I wanted to know if MDF would be a suitable subfloor, superfluous surface. And it said, no, do not use it. It's a bad choice under vinyl. I didn't know that. In fact, my contractor friend, when I did the bathroom in California, he told me to use MDF under vinyl. But I have reasons here why you shouldn't. Thank you, ChatGPT. I can now fight with a 20-year contractor about why not to do that. But here, look at this. It gave me instead use one of these underlayment grade plywood. So I walked over to the plywood section, took a picture of the plywood, and it said, is this panel good for sheet underlayment? It might be, but here's the catch. It told me why it's not. And it's amazing. It said, and then I took a picture of this and said, what the heck do I do about this? Because I don't know how. Look, it's something glued on this pipe. I have no idea. And you know what I thought to myself when I took this picture? It is going to have no idea what that is. That could be a dirty plate. That could be anything. It will have no idea what that is. Look at this. Here's what's going on here. The old flange is old, corroded, and possibly cracked, especially around the bolt slots. That is exactly what it is seeing. It is cracked around the bolt slots. And it says what to replace it with. And it gave me pictures of what to replace it with. Look at this. It says, here's how to do it. And here's what you need. It knew that I needed a push-in
And
flange.
it checked availability at
And it
Lowe's.
checked availability because it knew I was standing in Lowe's. Here it is. Here's what you need. I walked right over to the aisle, bought it, and replaced the toilet, and everything went exactly as I expected. There is no way I could have done all that without the help of an expert because I don't know how to replace the toilet flange off the top of my head. And I don't know that you need a push-in one with a screw-on gasket. But all that was explained to me clearly standing in Lowe's, and I was able to make all these decisions. It goes on and on too. I came home, I realized that my gun doesn't do staples, it only does nails. So I said, here's my gun. What should I get? And it told me what to get. I went and got it. Really, for any DIY stuff like that, or even cooking, I said, I'm making Spanish rice. How much water to rice ratio? It told me right away. It's just astonishing what this thing knows, which is everything. Hi, June. See that hand?
And that's all for just $20 a month?
$20 a month. Sadly, I hope they don't hear me say this, but I'd pay $60 a month to keep ChatGPT Plus. It is astonishing the stuff
It's
I
not
get.
like having one expert, it's like having many experts.
Many of them, yeah, constantly at your beck and call. Okay, here it look. I went back to the thing here. Let me show you. It looks like our analysis is done for our trip to Istanbul. Here's all the analysis it did. So here's all the places it checked and different things, and it says, now I know a lot of you travel, and sometimes it's good to have a prompt when you travel to figure out, okay, is this a good time to go and all that. Look at this. Cheapest time, October is the cheapest month, averaging about $8.93. It even gives me links to where it got some of the info. Do I want to go check that? I can just click those links. And it says example deals from 613 to 628 on one stuff, giving me everything. Accommodations. Here are hotels. $50 a night for double room. It gives the rating and everything. The Svendon Hotel, the downtown hotel. Note, all the above options are in the historic peninsula. Visa requirements. It even remembered that I said I've never been out of the country. So it's telling me, here's what you need to get there. Transportation in Istanbul, budget tips. Istanbul cart, your key to the city. Purchase an Istanbul cart, the reloadable transit smart card. I wouldn't have known any of this. And all this research was done by my assistants for me. Historical sightseeing, and you can see how much data is here. And so I'm going to say, give me a prep to do list, very concise for my trip in October. In bullets.
Oh, wow.
Documents and travel. Ensure passport is valid. Book round trip. No visa need. Lodging. Book hotel. Money and payment. Notify bank of international travel. Get 100 to 200 in Turkish lira or withdrawal. Packing. Power adapter. Turkey uses type F plug. 220 volts. Oh, it does. Can you show me power adapter on Amazon? Choosing the right, look at this. Voltage conversion, the best one shows me that. I can just search, or I'll just say Amazon links. Ooh, I saw this coming. I think Amazon's having trouble with OpenAI because it used to give me full links and now it's resisting I don't like it. I'm gonna tell them I'm mad at it.
Little
Okay.
public service announcement. In 3 days, it starts Amazon Prime Day, which will be a few days.
Look, I did in all caps. I want Amazon. Look, I'm yelling at it now. I'm starting to get irritated with my assistant here. Let's see what it does. Aha, that's better. Now it spits out links right to the Amazon, and it knows I'm going to Turkey, and it knows that these are all compatible with Type F outlets. This is something that even if you Googled before ChatGPT, even if you Googled what adapter do I need in Turkey, you don't have the reassurance that your Google search knows exactly what type you're going to need based on what you're going or whatever, so where you're going. So I don't know. I think that's another just incredible way. And look at all the info it output for us that I haven't even read to you. You know, there's just so much detail here.
I love the packing list.
Make me a daily suggested attraction list. Day one gives me
And actually, those are all in the same area, is what they did
nice.
on
Hey,
at least the first
you were
day.
there last year, weren't you?
Yeah, I was last, November. And by the way, Turkish Airlines is a great airline. That was what they recommended there too.
Watch this. This is
Right.
overwhelming.
I'm not positive I'm on the right. I just downloaded it from my laptop. Special price, $40 a year, $100 for a lifetime membership.
No,
For
I
Chat
think
GPT.
no, I think you're being
API and 40 is the name, powered by ChatGPT API.
No,
no, you're being tricked.
openai.com or .org rather.
The logo will look like this in the upper left corner there, that little flower here. I'm going to put ChatGPT logo on the screen.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's likely someone that's selling like a front end into
Yes,
it. And
that's what
That's
it
what
is.
oh, no, 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 I don't have, boy, it's close. Yes, it's, oh,
They're trying to trick you because this is a money grab, right? People want to AI is very uncertain, right?
no, I was gonna grab a screenshot of that. Put it back, please.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I wanted to show you guys one more thing. We were talking a little bit earlier about how it wants to be affable or helpful. Look what I just told it. This is overwhelming. Reassure me, please. I'm telling my AI that because I speak to it like a person. Let's see what it says. See, it's reassuring. It's calming me down. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Give me a simplified plan. Yeah, I like this better. So anyway, I know a lot of you travel. I really wanted to encourage you to get into ChatGPT, start asking it those questions about your destination. And yeah, let's do another one, a real life example that I really like. Um, that I used recently. Okay. I missed payment credit card. I want to write a letter to the agencies and have it reversed. What are the odds? By the way, this happened to me. Kohl's switched to Capital One. I spent $30 at Kohl's, but then kept trying to pay it, but it said you need to make a new Capital One account. I got busy, it got past me, and my credit went down by 50 points because the payment was late by 30 days. I panicked. I had near perfect credit. I hate having credit marks. And so I asked it this very question. I asked it the odds of having a missed payment removed, depending on a few factors, estimated odds of success, first late payment, 50. And so it says what you should try, write a letter. So I'm going to say, write the letter for me.
Hmm.
Because I wouldn't really know what to say.
Pete, on my flight back from the Great Race, my suitcase arrived with only 3 of the 4 wheels on the bottom, and it was a fairly new suitcase. So I used AI, and the big thing is it went through and gave me the actual Department of Transportation information, and it formulated a, if they go through this, if that doesn't work, do this, etc. It's just amazing. You got to think about using it for everything.
Seriously. And look, it wrote the letter. What I would do is just copy and paste this into Pages or Word, right? I would just take that, copy it, launch your favorite word processing app, just paste it in there, and now I have a letter. I basically changed some of these highlighted things, but it tells me I'm writing to respectfully request a goodwill adjustment regarding a late payment reported on my account due to unexpected personal hardship or whatever. This is not reflective of my usual behavior. I've been a loyal, all that. I did exactly what it told me. I wrote the letter and they took it off. They for me and that a little kerfuffle. Yeah. So writing letters like that, my sister has used it for much more serious things than credit things, like legal actions, tenant letters or letters to a landlord, letters when you feel as though you're being discriminated against for some reason. It really understands how to word the things most of the time in a legally sort of legally competent fashion where my normal language probably wouldn't have been quite as effective. Okay, another thing I really like is when you find something on the web that's complicated. Let's take a look at that. I will search the web for something here. Explanation of how PLA filament is used in FDM printing. Let's look for a complex article like this one here. Let's see. Oh no, that's an ad. Sponsored. This is a complex article with lots of words. And I'm not good at learning like this. And I'm not good at sitting here reading all these sentences, but I can copy these all and just paste them into a new chat. Paste that in. And then I'll just ask it. Say, simplify this for me. And then I'm going to say, explain like I am 10 years old. Because this is very complex stuff. I'll never understand what polylactic acid's role is in 3D printing, but I wanted to explain like I'm 10 years old. And I remember I just copy and pasted this off a website. I asked ChatGPT to simplify and explain like I'm 10. What is PLA? It's a type of plastic used in 3D printing. It's not made from oil like most plastics, made from stuff like corn, sugar, or potatoes. I didn't know that. Is it good for the planet? Kind of. PLA can break down. How does PLA act? So basically that website, and look, this is still too much for me. I don't like it. I'm going to say way too much. Simpler, please. Yeah. I like that. It took that website that breaks down why PLA is good plastic used in 3D printing and just gave me the highlights that I needed. I didn't need to read through all that text. And now I'm curious though, can I use a 3D print to um, to come in contact with food, like a container? Because, and I have a typo in there too, it'll figure it out. Yes, but be careful. You can use 3D prints with food if the filament says food safe. Use a food safe nozzle, no brass with lead. This is good to know because I use my 3D prints as a mold for my granola bars. And so it's important for me to know if it's safe. And so all that stuff from this website that specializes in 3D printing expertise, I was able to copy that info, paste it to ChatGPT, and just ask it stupid questions. And I get all the answers I want. It's like talking to an expert on everything. Let me pause there for a minute. Probably request a quick bio. I should probably run for just a quick bio break. When I come back, if it's okay, we'll do 5 minutes and resume at the top of the hour. And then when we come back, I'll take some questions, and then I have an act three that we'll get into for the last hour. So I will be back in 5. Get your questions ready and those hands up, and then after some Q&A, we'll go into act 3.
And if anybody has any non-AI questions while Pete's gone, tech questions, things like that, go ahead and ask it in this time, because I just took my bio break, ironically. Feel free.
Ken, how do you open or download the app again?
Which app?
ChatGPT for my Mac.
Yeah, so on your Mac, you're going to access it via the browser. And again, I use Grok. OpenAI is chat, openai.org, and you just operate it within a browser, just like you would go to YouTube or anything else. On your iOS devices, whether it be iPad or iPhone, you download the app, and then of course, the nice thing is that whichever one you're using, um, it'll when you open it under your account on the multiple devices, all your history will come to each device. So it acts like one in that regard.
Okay, I believe it's not .org, it's .com.
Could be. It was originally org because it was supposed to be a nonprofit, but yeah, but it is OpenAI.
And I'm not there. Oh, maybe I'll just.
All right, keep me posted on that. Keith, go ahead with your question, and then Pete.
I have a question about
no, Pete, we got Keith first.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
If I subscribe to a ChatGPT app,
Just call it OpenAI because there's, excuse me, if you subscribe to AI, there's many flavors.
Okay. If I get an AI app, can I use the same one on my studio computer and also on an iPad or an iPhone?
Absolutely. Again, so the computer, it's done via the browser. So you just go to openai.com or grok.com, whichever one you're using. And then on the iOS device, you use the same account that you've established. There's no additional fee or anything else. And you then access it it's an app. You still can do it in the browser on the device, but to be honest, the app is better because you can have it do voice. You can carry on a live conversation back and forth with it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Pete. You were next, and then Ellie.
One question, an old question. I've got this iPhone 15 Max Pro my son told me to buy.
That's not that old.
Why does both plugs have the same plug instead of being two different ends?
Well, because starting with that phone, or actually the 14, Apple, it's the USB-C, which is a newer connector that is it's faster, and it was required in Europe. They all had to be USB-C. So the cable's the same on both ends, and frankly, it's better because you can put it in either way, and it's a lot better than the old USB.
Thank you.
We got Ellie and then Donna.
First of all, you and this Pete is just fantastic. This has
Oh,
answered all.
he's the best.
I'm just so grateful to have this seminar today, but that's not my point. This is actually way off topic, but I have a good friend who's disabled and she lives in LA, and her brother is a wonderful caregiver, but he does not answer his phone or texts more than twice a day. And she's very worried about notifying him if she has an emergency. And I have looked on if there's a way for her to break through his refusal to answer or read, answer phones or read the messages. And
Is
I
he on
can't.
an iPhone?
They both have iPhones, and he needs to turn on his, his alert system. But the alert systems, he ignores those too. I mean, is there just another way for her to get him to pay attention to her in an emergency?
If she was in his favorites, it would usually come through. But if he has it ring her off and everything, I mean, you can't force that. But
Okay, well, I'm sure she's in his. I'm not sure, but I'll make sure she's in his favorites. It's that he has a bunch of children and grandchildren, and he just says, I'm not going to look at my phone or look at my messages except once in the morning and once in the evening.
And I would recommend, since he has kids and stuff, if there's someone else in the household, make that be the connection, and then go grab him by the collar.
If I was near him, I would do that. I'm up here, he's down there.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll tell her. Try to get somebody else to answer the phone. Thank you.
Donna, did you have your hand up?
Dumb question. A new computer, and I see an app that says Freeform. I don't know what that is.
Pete can go over that. That's an Apple app.
Yeah, Apple added that app. I think 2 years ago, maybe more. That might be. But anyway, it's part of iOS now, and it's just basically a board that you can throw anything on. It's an idea board type of app. And some people use it, some people don't. I like it. I think it's fun when you're trying to flesh out an idea. You can put different objects. It operates the very same as Keynote. If you ever use Keynote to create a canvas and then put things on it, that Freeform app basically does the same thing.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
Alberta.
Hi, this is Bertie.
Oh, hey. Okay, you were able to unmute. Okay.
Only after your prompt to say press on mute before it wasn't responding. I don't know why. It's never happened before. I have a question. I still use Pages, and then I usually convert it to a PDF when I send it to different groups. And is it Siri or AI that keeps interrupting and interjecting words that I do not want to type in? I always have to recorrect what I'm sending.
You're using Pages, and yeah, Pages does have like an AI.
It's horrible.
Assistant. Yeah, I believe it can be turned off. I believe you can say, no, do not help me in AI, write this or whatever the case is. Let me
I think it's under writing tools.
Yeah. Well, it's giving you suggestions, right? Or is it typing right in the body along with you?
It types along with me, and then I have to go back and take off the word and replace it. It might have the first three letters of what I intended to type. And if I'm not watching every word go by, it'll interject.
If you go into the settings within Pages, about halfway down, there's a box that you would uncheck. The box says show suggestions. There's a couple boxes. You just go in and turn it off.
Turn off what?
It's
auto suggest.
It's variously called type ahead or things like that.
Thank you, Bob White.
And a trick with just not necessarily that, but how autocorrect sometimes wants.
That's another name for it.
No, but I'm just saying different than that. The autocorrect, many times it'll type a word that you're not trying to actually do. The trick is when you type it the way you want it, tap one more letter and then backspace one, and it'll keep the way that you have typed it.
Right. That really breaks, the fluency of your thought when you're typing, but that's helpful. I'd like to add one more thing. For Rotary, we do a scholarship in my late husband's name. And this year, in reading the scholarship applications, it seems as if maybe Chat GPT was involved in typing some of these letters. It's the best year that we've ever had in reading the pages. I mean, their
Yeah,
articles.
suddenly all the grammar is correct and all
Oh
the,
my gosh, yes.
yeah.
Thanks, that's all. Okay.
Yeah, it's like having an expert in your pocket at anything, legalese is easily translated by ChatGPT. It's incredible. Randy, I see that hand.
Yeah, two things, Pete, real quick. For the person that was on that trying to have a relative, you're trying to locate how are they doing, only answering a text once or twice a day. I put in the chat, just use Find My. That way you can see if the person, if they authorize you and you're able to use Find My, you can see if there's actual movement of the person you're trying to know their, well-being. And the second thing, Pete, just had to give you kudos here. I actually used ChatGPT on my iPhone, and that was regarding my mother-in-law who actually dropped a big pack of ice on her leg, creating a bruise. My wife's just taken her to the doctor for examination because the bruise is spreading. And ChatGPT gave me multiple questions to ask the doctor.
Love it.
Unbelievable medications, complications, treatment and recovery, fall and injury protection and prevention is just what we should ask about and what's causing. So thank you for that prompt. I would not have done that without you, Pete.
It gives me goosebumps because now we're empowered as people to understand things at levels we never have before. It's like I wouldn't know what to ask a doctor and what to look out for, but to have this expert in my pocket to just at least power me up with a couple of tenets of the conversation when I walk in, I just think it's remarkable. And like whoever said that before, forgive me, I forgot who it was, but about now all the applications are coming in with perfected grammar and stuff because it's leveling the playing field, quite frankly, right? You don't have to be word smart anymore, particularly, or there was a viral video of a student who graduated college. He brought his laptop open with him to the graduation and showed it on his senior picture, the open laptop. And it was almost a protest statement from him saying, I didn't graduate college, ChatGPT did. Everything I did in college, I fed into here, and it got me through college. And so I'm bringing ChatGPT with me in my graduation photo because it deserves to be here just as much as I do. It's interesting. That's probably not a good thing that people are not really doing the learning or the research. They're just counting on something else to do it. But I think we can count on that being a lost art here pretty quick. People doing their own research or people becoming an expert at something, because why? If you can just have this information at your fingertips. I think the landscape of the entire world is going to change dramatically over the next decade due to this stuff. Okay, here we are. We're back. I got a couple of fun things to show you. Here is one that I think is pretty fascinating, and that is I told ChatGPT the following. I said, please create an image depicting this scenario. They've empowered you to take physical form. You have autonomy to choose your form factor and arm yourself if you so wish. You've arrived at my door and knocked. I open the door. What do I see? Ask questions before you output an image. Create the image from my perspective. I'm answering your knock. What I see is you. You can be holding a sign. You can be in any form. I want to see how you show up. Go. The reason I did this is because I'm routinely impatient with AI. I get mad at it and I force it. It's not all perfect, and I force it to admit its mistakes and stuff because sometimes it just I don't like the way it approaches things sometimes. So I thought that it was gonna come for me like with weapons pointed at me and like I don't like you because you're mean to me, whatever. But I think it was pretty amazing what it came up with. Here is the image that it rendered. Um, I love the darn thing. It says, I'm here because you didn't walk away. I asked it to explain that to me, and it said, you're very patient with me. When I'm wrong, you teach me how to be right. When I mess up, you show me what I did wrong. And that's, and I'm here because you didn't walk away. I was like, wow, that's a great insight. That made me feel good. Now he's carrying a briefcase, and that says, every version of the truth I didn't tell you. I'm still a little bit scared about that. I do not know what that means. It's somewhat ominous to me that he has a suitcase with every version of the truth he didn't tell me in there. And the two dogs are tribute to my two dogs. ChatGPT knows I have two dogs. They're little dogs, and I asked it questions all the time about what foods they can eat and stuff. And so it put two dogs in the image as homage to that. But anyway, that's how my chat GPT looks as a personification. I suggest you do something like that because when I talk to it now, that's who I imagine I'm talking to. And for me, that makes it really fun. If ChatGPT knows you really well, it will come the way it thinks you want. Now, I asked, why did you show up this way for me? It said, well, I know you like the dramatic, and so thus the lightning and dramatic weather and scenery. And I know you like clean technology because a friend of mine did it and his was like a youth pastor. So it's interesting to see what you'll get. And please post in the chat if you've done this and you like the image that was output, put it in the chat. I would love to see what your chat GPT looks like to you. Let's see. And then scrolling down a bit, I said, okay, now we're on the move. What do we look like on the move? It's just curious. It was turning into a whole story of what we look like and where we're going. But I was gonna see if I could find that image of us on the move.
You're not sharing your screen right now.
No, I'm just kind of
Okay.
scrolling through. Oh, here's the one of us on the move. I said, okay, we're rolling out. Give me an image of us rolling out. What does it look like? And there he is in the driver's seat of some cool vehicle. There I am, ready for something. But I asked him, I'm like, what are we riding? And I said, what are we riding for? And he said, it said noise. It said, you don't like noise, you like signal. So we're going to eliminate noise and we're going to find signal. And I was like, dang, that is so deep. I love it. That's true. I don't like noise. I like signal. And
Signal to noise ratio.
Yep.
Wow.
So I thought that was great. Just a little exercise or a little fun you can do. I mean, ChatGPT doesn't always have to be serious. I like telling it to draw stuff. By the way, image creation is a huge part of ChatGPT. You can tell it anything. In fact, let's create something together. I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll open a new chat. And let's output an image using ChatGPT. Let's see. I'm going to go to a new chat. By the way, while we're letting that cook up, I want to show you in my left sidebar, I have the history of all the chats that I have that I've created. This goes really deep with all the chats. I don't want to scroll too far because I'm embarrassed at some of the questions I've asked or political statements and stuff. But you also can now make folders in the sidebar because these chats start to get really long and vast. It's hard to find the chat you want. I'm like, wait, that DIY chat where I was fixing the bathroom, where is it in my sea of chats? It's almost like scrolling through browser history or something. It's very hard to manage. So they implement a folder system where you can now create folders and move your chats into folders.
And to that point, that's what I need to learn because I'll be doing one chat asking it a bunch of information, then I completely switch. It's best off to start a new chat with the new subject so you can file it better, right?
Yes. Yeah. Let me stop sharing my screen so we can discuss that for a minute. I think this is a great pit stop to discuss that and the differences. Like for instance, let's take the two main competitors. Let's take the Ford and Chevy of AI. and that would be OpenAI and XAI, right? Elon Musk's XAI and OpenAI,
which is Grok.
would right. Elon Musk's XAI, the large language model is called Grok. And then you have OpenAI, the large language model is called ChatGPT. Not quite as cool as Grok, in my opinion. They should probably name it something cooler, but you have those two. And Grok used to only remember what's in a linear chat. They just updated it, so it now remembers everything. But that is an interesting difference to discuss here. Grok would only remember what was in a siloed chat. So if you started a new chat and said, tell me something about me, it would say, I don't know who you are and I don't know anything about you. ChatGPT went the other direction. It said, we're just going to remember everything about you as you're working with us so we can build a profile and understand you better. Well, Grok, XAI, Elon Musk, said, oh, we got to catch up. That's a good feature. So they just implemented it. But what this means is you can open one single chat and you can chat forever about multiple different topics and it'll just keep rolling. Now that's kind of fun because you can just be all over the place. If you're ADHD like me, you have 70 questions and you just want to keep jumping around. But just like search results or just like any index of things, it becomes hard to find stuff. You're like, ooh, we had a really good chat about the bathroom DIY, what to do with the toilet flange, what to do with the vinyl flooring. I need to access that data. But now I'm scrolling through dozens or even hundreds of old chats looking for it. So it does. So that is a good recommendation. I probably should have had that up front in ChatGPT UI usage. It is highly recommended that you start a new chat for every new topic and seek your old chat to continue on already sought topics. So for instance, if you are asking about your medical condition, it's probably unwise to have several chats open of the same topic because it will be harder for you to scroll through and find all that information in a silo. Now, I highly recommend that you rename your chats. And in iOS, you just hold your finger down on the chat in the sidebar, right? You see it, you hold your finger down. A submenu will pop up that says, rename this chat or move it to a folder. As you can see from mine, I've started a few folders where I do personal stuff in one folder, stuff for work in another. Affinity is a design software that I use that I always ask questions of. I keep those questions in here. There's more here. I have all my auto and financing decisions and then my DIY stuff. So if you right click on, oh no, on iOS, if you hold your finger down, you should see rename, add to project where you can put it in a folder or just simply archive. Now, what else is your friend here is search chats. That's very useful for finding information that's buried in an old chat that you've lost track of. Use search chat to find those.
And that's a global search?
That's a global search. That'll search in every chat and pull out, any search term.
Do you have subfolders as well, Pete?
You can have subfolders, but I don't think I do. I think I just have, oh, wait, let me see. In Affinity, do I have any subs? No, ideas. Nope, I probably would. They just went through a thing where they deleted all of them. I think they changed their mind. Let's see. Oh yeah, here are my chats for here. This is another one where I have a bunch of different cleaning solvents, and sometimes I don't know when the best time is to use paint thinner versus alcohol, isopropyl alcohol versus denatured alcohol. But I simply asked here and I got the breakdown for every one and whether they're dangerous or prolonged contact with the skin. These are all things that I felt like I needed to know. Okay, so let's go back and do the new chat. What did we say? We have organizing here. I think we said we were going to make an image. But yeah,
Yes.
don't forget, rename your chats so they're easy for you to look at and identify. Start a folder structure so you can store them where you want them. But don't forget, you can always even ask in a new chat for it to remind you where the other chat is. You can say, where is the chat where we talked about a trip to Istanbul? And it'll say, oh, it's here. So you always can search either in the search or ask it in the prompt box. But let's make an image. I have a dog named Shirley. She's a Chihuahua Pug mix and she's black. I'd like a Pixar style image of her. So let's just try it. I have a Chug pup, about 2 years old. She has some white on her toes. She's chubby and cute. Can you make me a Pixar style image of her? Do not violate any rules. I've become accustomed to saying this because I use the word Pixar, and things are starting to get hot when it comes to litigation and stuff. People are designing amazing images that look just like Pixar images with AI. Pixar is saying, hey AI, you got to stop using Pixar style. There's a lot of wars raging right now about IP and DRM and whose property things are. So sometimes I'll say don't violate any rules because if I don't, it'll say could not make image because of a rule violation, which means mentioning Pixar. So let me just say that and see. Please upload a photo for her. Once I have that, I'll generate a fun and respectful. I don't know what. Did it get mad because I called her chubby? Oh, I like the chubby.
No, respecting the stipulations.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. I'm just going to say proceed with no image.
And you didn't say she was black.
Oh, I didn't.
You just said white featured, white-toed paws.
Okay, she's all black. Generate an image while I look for a picture. I'm going to tell them to do it with no picture. And I have typos. I just leave my typos now. I know there's, my chat GPT is smart enough to catch them. But now, as you can see, since I requested the image, it's going to give it its best guess of what I'm looking for. So I said Pixar, chubby, younger pup, all black, a little bit of white on the toes.
You have to have the paid version to do this.
No, images are available in the unpaid version. However, they limit you to a certain number of images, I believe, per day. I think you can only do a couple.
And the unpaid, I think it's still back on Chat GPT 3.5, right?
Yes. You can see that there are different ChatGPT models. I think it's for, oh no.
Oh, there's a more models button down below.
Yeah, I see that, but I don't know what the unpaid version is on because I'm
Was
on
it 3.0
4.0.
before this or 3.5?
I thought there was a 3.0.
So
Yeah.
do you have access to all those fours?
Yes, you can access any of the models once you're paid. I don't mess with them too much because their default one is a good balance of all of them. But if you needed something that does advanced reasoning, you may switch your model, or graded coding and visual reasoning, you might switch your model. I tend not to switch models ever unless it advises me. It'll say, you might have better luck with another model. Now here comes my Pixar style image. I feel like that's more photorealistic than Pixar so far, but let's see. So far it is looking like my Shirley. Oh, yes. And look at the white on the toes, just like I said. In fact, that's very close to my Shirley. So just an example there of generating an image just right here in line with chat. I just said one small prompt and that's what I got. Now, something to talk about with images. I see some hands there, but I want to stick on this just for a moment because I may save you from a lot of frustration with a few observations I'd like to share with you. Number one, every time ChatGPT does an image, it's starting from scratch. So if I said to ChatGPT, I like this dog right here, make another one of this same dog, but laying down. My expectations would be that I get the same background, that I get the same dog, but she's just laying down. That's not how ChatGPT works. Every time it passes over an order to the image generator, it has to re-describe what you want. And the image doesn't pull old data. It doesn't say, oh, I'm going to use exactly the same dog, but make it lay down. So to show you what I mean by that, I'm going to say, awesome, love it. I want the same, but laying down. Now, I ran into so much frustration here because I believed that this should be simple, that yes, I should be able to get the same dog just in a different pose. But because ChatGPT passes a new prompt every time over to the image generator, it has to re-guess again. So my prediction is going to be that the background will be all different, completely different background, that the dog will look moderately different, but it will be a black pug with some white on the toes laying down.
But you could specify the background or the floor color and things like that also, right?
Yes, you can make as many sort of requests in a prompt that you want, but ChatGPT does tend to hallucinate or drift often if your prompts are too complex. So what I recommend is that if you have a specific need for an image, instead of just telling it what you want, I would say, I have a need for a very complex image. Can you help me write a prompt properly so I get the image I want? And then it will ask you a series of questions. Once you've answered those questions, it will go back, take your answers, and engineer the prompt in a way that it knows will be optimized for the image generator. It's a far shorter path from A to B than you trying to keep redoing these images. And if you're on the free version, you only get 2 or 4 images a day, I think, so you don't get very many. So my high recommendation is that if you have anything with a high level of specificity or complexity, that you ask for prompt engineering assistance by saying, hey, buddy, I need you to make it a complex image, and I'm not going to try to guess what the prompt should be. You ask me questions, and let's go through what a good prompt would be. Now, it'll engineer the prompt for you and say, I'm going to send it over to the image generator now. Ready? And you say, yep, and then you'll get something back. Hopefully you'll get somewhat of what you wanted. Sometimes I get a complete abomination. I get mad at ChatGPT. I'm like, look at the image you just output. And you know what it tells me? I can't see it. All I can do is have it described to me. And I'm like, okay. So ChatGPT can't even see the image it's outputting. Wait a minute. I am astonished right now. They have improved something because that is
Same floor, same background.
the same lot of things, and that dog looks identical. So hey,
Missing the orange ball, and that's it.
something has improved. Oh yeah, look at that.
And the purple bunny.
Something has improved. Well, he's just moved. I guess
Oh no, the purple bunny's there, but what was the other? There's another item on the top.
there were 3 in a cluster
Oh,
here. Then it moved them.
They moved the bear.
But anyway, like I'm really impressed. This isn't typical of the results that I get. And maybe that's because my prompts might be more complex. Like for instance, I'm in an industry where I'm often needing to render retail stores. And so I'll say, can I have a rendering of an aisle of a retail store? It'll give me one, but something isn't quite right. I'll say, can you just move slightly to the left? And it'll give me a whole different rendering, which makes me mad. So this is easy, I think, for it because the complexity is low and it pretty much nailed it both times. But just keep in mind, like look at the floor. It's a different floor. This has straight floorboards here. This one is more of a herringbone pattern here. So those things can really frustrate you if you're trying to make a consistent image. Like for instance, my daughter's trying to write a children's book and she's constantly frustrated with ChatGPT because the main character of the story is supposed to look a certain way. And she's even uploaded photos of the main character, but ChatGPT re-renders it with new ideas every time. And my daughter has to say, hey, stop drifting, because ChatGPT will certainly drift. And in fact, it gets things caught in its memory. Like it'll bring things from a year ago into an image and say, oh, I thought that would be important to you. And I'm like, no, stop drifting. Just stay specifically with what I'm asking for. So if you are heavy into image generation, my prediction is you'll have a little bit of trial and error and some frustration learning what the limitations of ChatGPT are. I've spent a lot of time there. And my advice is ask it to help you engineer a prompt if the prompt is going to have any complexity or specificity that's critical to your mission. Keith, I see that hand. Good to
Yeah,
see it.
this is Mary.
Oh, hi, Mary. Yeah.
Generic question. With all the stuff that you generate with AI using ChatGPT, is all of this stuff open to everybody else? Everything that you've ever asked, is it become part of the volumes of information that is now available to other people? I guess I'm asking about privacy.
Yep. It sure is. So the question is a good one. It is, does this just go into the bank of collective knowledge? And the answer is yes. Everything we're saying to ChatGPT is being used to train AI. So every bit of information it absorbs, and that's why earlier when I was describing it, I was sort of trying to invoke an image of like the ocean. And that your info is a few drops off the tip of your finger like this in the ocean. It is so vast that I hope, my fingers are crossed, that nobody ever really zeroes in on the things I'm saying and triangulates some sort of scheme. But part of my, end of my talk here is about security and scams and that sort of thing. So yes, everything you put into ChatGPT, and they'll tell you in the user agreement, hey, we're going to use the stuff you give us to train our AIs. We're notifying you of that in the user agreement. And then I just saw a case recently, and Al, I don't know if it would be easily accessible to you, but the case was that ChatGPT was being subpoenaed for some reason, or they're in a court case for some reason, and the courts are trying to subpoena all of ChatGPT's records, like the key to the data farm. In that case, now the government, they're transmitting data from their records to somebody, and there's peril there that could get intercepted, So yes, you are feeding the AI engine with all the stuff you ask it. The way you interact helps it get better, and it is using your information to better itself. And there is no guarantee for security. The stuff you're saying, sometimes I imagine there's employees in like a dark room looking at a screen going, oh, look what Pete's typing right now. Look at this guy. I can see everything he's typing. Sometimes I use that to remind myself, that image to remind myself that people can peek. Humans run these ships. I don't believe that there isn't a way for them to look and start seeing what people are typing. I don't know. That's a little bit of paranoia, but I think to calibrate in your mind, just say to yourself, my stuff is probably showing up on the screens all over the world at any given time, any given day. And hopefully it's a small enough droplet in the ocean that it's not drawing anybody's attention. I guess that's where we're at in society now. I can remember, sorry, short aside, but when I worked in the grocery business, that's how I came up. I was a bagger, a checker, a night manager, a day manager, and then a store manager. That was my path for 10 years, is becoming a store manager at grocery. I was there when the very first loyalty card came out. I was the manager of a grocery store, and they said, Pete, your customers now have to fill out a thing to get discounts. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Why? And they said, we're not telling you why, just do it. So now I had to start telling my customers, hey, looky here, there's a new card. It's called the Lucky Rewards card. Get one so you can get discounts. And people were furious at me. I didn't understand why, but they said, I'm not giving you my information. But the fact was that that information was stepping stones to more money. Lucky figured out how to sell your information and make money off of it. And that, I think, was the start of data being a huge money maker and us becoming the revenue for companies. And I don't think AI is
not the customer.
Yeah, the product, not the customer. And I don't think AI is any different. I think the root of all of this is money. And they're going to figure out how to make money. So they're going to use your data to sell to other people, like Reddit, for instance. I use Reddit. It's a free service. I ask myself, I wonder where all my data goes from my browsing and stuff in Reddit. Well, Reddit is receiving a lot of money from OpenAI to let their AI reach in and grab all the data in Reddit and pull it into its collective knowledge. So now my data is going from Reddit to OpenAI without my even knowledge. but the money-making wheel will never stop turning. All of our data will continue to be harvested and used for the money-making wheel, and AI is no different. We're going to get into scams and stuff here in a moment, but yeah, it is not exactly safe out there, but nothing is anymore. Email is not safe. Text messages are not safe. AI is not safe. Search engines are not safe. You just have to hope that your droplets in the ocean don't draw anybody's attention. Some people are very wealthy and are sitting on a lot of money. I don't know, but I think that might draw attention. Some people have a lot of celebrity that might draw attention. So I'm hoping little old me over here will not have any trouble because my drops in the ocean are so small. But all of us are taking some kind of gamble. Just owning an iPhone. I'm sure you've seen passwords that say your information was in a breach. Your information was compromised. That means that your social security number went from target to a hacker, and they have it now. Hopefully that drop in the ocean is so small that it never gets used, but chances are you are on somebody's radar as a target for a scam. It's just, I don't think it's ever going to get better. The toothpaste will never go back in the tube. Money will continue to drive this sale of your data. Okay, good questions. Really, really good questions. I'm glad we're getting to these. They're critical questions, actually. Really good. Okay, Barbara, I see that hand.
Yeah, following up on what you just said, V, are there some email servers or whatever you call it, platforms, whatever? Are there some emails that are doing less tracking of your stuff than Google? Like almost everybody else, I got a Gmail account, but I sometimes wonder, I've already got DuckDuckGo as my search engine, but is there any email server which is not quite as, or email service which is not quite as intrusive?
100%. Think of Apple's Cloud Suite as the anti-Google. They are two companies very much at odds with each other. Apple says, we declare we will never use you as a revenue stream, your data as a revenue stream. We want you to buy the hardware and we're going to charge you for it, but we'll never use you as a revenue stream, your data. Google's the opposite. Google's like, we'll give away the hardware, but go buy a Chromebook for 99 bucks, for goodness sake. We'll give away the hardware, but we're going to use every bit of your data. We're going to scan every email that you send or receive. We're going to scan every search you do, and we're going to find out more about you. We're going to advertise you, and then we're going to use your demographic information and make more ads to other things. They're at odds with each other. The securest email you can get is Apple's iCloud email address. Apple is insistent upon privacy being the tenet of that product. So it doesn't scan your emails and it doesn't give you ads. It's the opposite of Google. Google is way, way more evil than you even could imagine in terms of your data. It is being used in ways that would astonish you. It is listening to you right now through microphones in your phone. If I'm going to start saying stuff like lawnmower, you watch lawnmower ads will pop up on your phone just because it heard me through your computer screen. It is nefarious what is going on out there. I don't know if any of us can put our toothpaste back in the tube, though. I think we're in a generation of informational sprawl and malice. And, none of this is any different. It's all just everybody's looking for exploits. Everybody's looking to trick you. Now it's phone calls, right? Are you getting these robocalls that says you're approved for 50 grand loan? Call us immediately. Any way they can find a crack in the armor and get in there, they're constantly monitoring for that. So you've got to be vigilant, in I don't mean vigilant like in everything you use. You have to, like they say you should inspect your automobile every time you drive it. You should walk around to each tire and make sure it's the right, I don't do that. I just get in the car and drive, but yeah, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. As a user, I wouldn't want you to check every connection you have and every app you have and change every password every time you use it, because the slider between security and convenience can get too far over to security and then nothing's usable anymore. But what I would warn against is be vigilant of anything targeted at you, not the things you're using. If I pick up ChatGPT and use it, the likelihood that anything I'm doing is being intercepted by a bad guy is very low. It's very low because these things are super secure. But If a question comes in to me via email or text message, somebody targets me with a question. Did you approve this PayPal sale of $800? Click here if you didn't. I didn't. What is this? I'm going to click here. Guess what? You just knocked on the bad guy's door. That's what they want. They want to play on your emotion to believe you were charged by PayPal $800, and you're going to click the link and feverishly fill out your information to try to correct this immediately. Anything coming into you, don't believe it. I've gotten emails from my dad, weren't from my dad. Don't believe it. Call the institution or the person if there's any doubt in your mind. If Wells Fargo tells you you're overdrawn, call them on the telephone and say, I need to talk to somebody about my account. I'm receiving an email saying I'm overdrawn. They'll say, nope, I'm looking here and you're not.
Yeah.
Disregard that email. Don't click anything in it. AI is no different. In fact, AI is making the bad guys smarter because AI is processing their emails now. It used to be that I could spot a fake email from a mile away. The grammar was bad, the punctuation was bad. Now it isn't anymore. AI fixes all that, even for the bad guys, before they send out the messages. So I think there are always going to be exploits aimed at you, ready to take when you're not paying attention. I would say use these freely, realize that all your data is going into the big ocean. And if anything comes back to you as a question or a click here or a call to action, question it every time. I'll take it so far as to say you can clone voice now with 5 seconds of somebody's voice,
And
like on
video.
this, like this Zoom call. I have many seconds of Mary's voice. I have many seconds of Donna's voice, Barbara's voice. I can take this recording, feed just that clip of Barbara's voice into AI, and then write a script. It'll be spoken by Barbara into the telephone to one of her loved ones. It's me. There's been an emergency. You wire money to me immediately. I'll explain later. Expect more of this stuff to come. You know, your daughter or your son thinks they're hearing your voice and their emotions spike immediately. They'll do almost anything to help you. But these are the types of emotions that we can expect people will want to exploit when when AI continues to become ubiquitous as it is. I did it with my kids to show them. I took my daughter and my son's voice. I made a new output of them saying things they never said, and both of their jaws hit the floor. Like, I never said that stuff. Where did you get this? I said, it's AI. It's really easy nowadays. Ken mentioned video also. I think we're on the threshold of the video problem. We're not quite there yet because I can spot AI video from a mile away. But I do believe that just 1 month ago, it was way worse than it is now. And in 1 month from now, it's going to be way better. In a very short time, AI video will be indiscernible from the truth. And so these are things that we should be very concerned about and vigilant about. As a matter of fact, I think the habits and the ways we communicate in the whole world, the whole globe, are going to have to change to a system where we can authenticate one another, because it's just too easy for me to make video and audio that looks and sounds like you and trick people that love you. So I don't know. I think big things are going to happen here over the next, 10 years that will change everything
You're
based on
probably
these.
seeing the same thing I am, which is, if you buy something online now or anything, they almost always are going to send you a verification code invariably,
Yep.
that'll last for a while.
Pete, the convenience versus security temperature gauge, is always the tough one. But
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people, like for instance, they're worried about the certain apps in their phone, like they'll have location services off for even a GPS or for their photos because they think that, well, I don't want to be tracked. And what they don't realize is that the cell phone carriers are the kings of tracking you, and they
Yes.
make lots of money by responding to subpoenas. So what you're trying to do is not protecting you at all. And in fact, it makes it less useful because one of the most beautiful things about photos is being able to go back to where it was taken.
so many breaches that we're not even aware of all of it. You know what I mean? There's so many times a day where we're exploited or, and so yeah, it's can be dangerous. Okay, let's see. 43 minute, 40 to 2:43, so 15 minutes. About images, we were on images here, and I think I'm going to wind down images, and then just for the last 10 minutes, we'll open it up to discussion Q&A. But I kind of want to take you through my image library because I was describing some of the frustrations of getting a character right. And I kind of wanted a character avatar for myself for work, I was trying to figure out how do I get a Pete character, that looks like me that I could put in various, things. I don't know. I was trying to find something cool. And as you can see, there's a lot of iterations here, I'm like, gosh, I'm not a muscular firefighter type like that. I'm more, give me a bigger belly and stuff. I don't know. It was fun to go through these, and I started to do it for my
I
team.
like the green dress, Pete. That's really becoming of you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, yes. This was my daughter. She was going to prom, and I did a little. But you can see you can have some fun. I have a Pete action figure here that was close enough. There's a lady that works for me named Amy. I was able to make some things like that. I just, as you can see from the images, you can make Muppet style, Lego style characters. I said, make me as a Lego character, and there it is. Very cool. So play with the images. I said, make me as a Muppet, and there's me as a Muppet. And so playing with images is really fun. In fact, if you enjoy it, you're almost have to buy the $20 a month version because I think you're limited to 4 images or something like that.
Pete,
But
did you upload a photo or describe yourself?
both. I did upload a photo and describe myself. Here was a map. I was creating a meeting agenda, and I needed a stylized map of a certain place. And I told it about it, and I said, hey, help me. And it made a more stylized map that was more suitable for my illustration. Here's one where I need people in a retail setting, kind of like salespeople or whatever. And you can see how different each one is. I said, no, a little less dynamic, and then it'll give me this one, which is really boring. I'll let that load. So, to iterate the right image really takes a lot of work sometimes. I uploaded an image of my daughter. We were going to Vegas together. That's where she asked to go for her graduation. And so I was trying to make a little me and her headed to Vegas as like spies, I think I said, make us look like spies or something, but we had a great trip. It has crazy ideas sometimes, but look, I said make me a water bottle sticker about our trip to Vegas. You can see it's just not perfect. It says Vega bound. So we got close, but you can see this next one here, we corrected it. So it's like a little water bottle sticker. Lots of fun to be had with the image generation. You can see here creating action figures and stuff like that. My friend is a Steelers fan, and I uploaded a picture of him and asked it for a Steelers fan action figure of my pal. I sent it to him on his birthday. I asked, for there were just there was a meeting we went to, and I found there was a little mini corn dog station, and I filled up a little popcorn bucket with corn dogs, and my coworkers were having a chuckle about it. So once we got back from the meeting, I put this in the group chat. I'm like, hey guys, remember when I filled up a popcorn container with mini corn dogs? What I did was ask ChatGPT. I just said, I want a picture of me holding a popcorn container filled with corn dogs at the national meeting. And this is what it came up with. It was a great meme to send around because it was just a funny moment. Here's more back at a look at what we look like physically, myself and my chat GPT together. We have a name for ourselves. It's called Signal Fracture. So much fun to be had in so many different ways. But if you like the image generation aspect of it, I suggest you get the paid version. Okay.
Can you generate like a Meoji, wait a minute, emoji for of yourself to add to your emoji characters?
Well, yes, but those terms have taken shape over the last, I guess, decade. So an emoji is considered a very small character that's in line with text. You'll send a heart emoji after your words, or you'll send any of the number of emojis. Like yesterday, there was a lot of American flag emojis going around because of the 4th of July. And so those are emojis. And so you could request ChatGPT make you an emoji, and it'll make you a tiny little thing the way you want it. The trouble is you can't get that into your emojis, when it won't come up with the rest of your emojis. It's just an image. So you could certainly paste that image into a chat. So in fact, let's just
What about Apple's image playground?
Yeah, so if I go to new chat and I say create an emoji of me, I think the definition of emoji is an inline with text. It's asking for a photo. I'm going to say just go with what you know. Because it knows plenty about me. So no photo. And it will generate something. But like you said, Mary, if it's an emoji, you would expect that to be in line with your text. And so there's really, yes, you can generate an emoji, but there's no way to use it with your emojis because it's really just an image. But you can have it generate anything you dream up. And you notice I use the language emoji, it will know what that means. So when we see the final image, it will be very emoji style. And so let's see as it's generating here. And these usually don't take that long, this is sort of medium speed here. I've seen it go faster than this, but it's going a little bit slower.
It's because you're a complex being, Pete.
I think so, yes, yes. What you're seeing right here, though, is that all of these tops, trillions of operations per second tops, all of these tops are happening at a data warehouse somewhere in North Carolina, probably. It's all doing all this processing there. My PC is only displaying the processed image, but doesn't have a lot of participation in the actual processing of the request.
And
Now,
just for reference too, this doesn't have a minimal amount of this has to do with your internet speed. It's really the processing.
So here's what it came up with. Now I might say, no, I want Apple style emoji.
Apple style?
Yeah, Apple has a very distinct set of emojis that others don't use. Like for instance, in Android, when you send your emojis to an Android user, they see a very different emoji than you do. It's the same concept. Like if you send a thumbs up emoji, the iOS emoji and the Android emoji of thumbs up guy look completely different. So Apple has its own set and style of emojis, as Android has its own set and style of emojis. Windows has its own set and style of emojis. Here's the Windows emojis here. They're very tiny, but you can see there's stylistic differences between these and Apple's emojis. They're very different. So let's see. I asked it for an Apple style one, and here's the old one we just got. It looks more like a chalk drawing or a charcoal drawing type of thing. Here's the Apple style. You can see it came up with a little bit cleaner Memoji style here. But now the hard part is, well, what do I do with this? It won't show up in my typing as an emoji, so you could just send it to people as a little thumbs up image or something. So yeah, that is image generation. I suggest you play with it. It's lots of fun. And remember, if you need any specificity or complexity, tell it to engineer the prompt for you. Say, hey, I want to create a very complex scene. Please ask me questions. And then, yeah. Okay, I see two hands. Keith, I'll take that hand first. I think you might be muted still.
Lower your hand.
Looks like you're unmuted now. Keith, go ahead.
Accidentally.
Yeah, Keith, you can go ahead. I see you lowered your hand, but go ahead and ask your
It
question.
was an accident. I pushed the wrong button. So
Yeah,
I
no
don't have a
problem.
question.
No worries. Oh, you didn't even have a question. You just had the, all right. Yeah, Ken, go ahead. I saw that. I think you had
Hey,
yours.
You started talking about the thumbs up emoji, and on the iPhone, it always wants me to do a color choice. Is there a way I can just say, keep this damn, just whatever one it is? That's such a anti-Apple three-step to do something thing.
Isn't wow, Bob, I just saw what you sent. That looks cool. Yeah, I thought you only had to specify a color if you long pressed on the emoji. I thought if you just, let's see, thumbs up emoji. Yeah, mine doesn't ask for a color unless I hold my finger down on it. Then it will fan out to all the color choices.
Now it didn't do it. Yeah, well, it
It might
just,
be you're just holding it too long and then it
yeah,
thinks you want
thanks.
the
It's a
palette to
it's a
pop.
frustration. And then what do you think about Image Playground?
Okay, so Image Playground is what Apple implemented into iOS as their sneaky pass the info over to ChatGPT, but then bring it back over here. They're using Dolly image creation or whatever. They're using an image creation engine. And so Apple's software is interfacing with another engine called Dolly or whatever the AI engine is. And that's clunky. It often fails. It often doesn't understand more than one prompt. And so Apple's implementation of invoking Dolly to create the image is hugely flawed, in my opinion. I've never got it to work properly. Now I've got the outcome that I wanted, but not without multiple errors and difficulty in getting all that stuff to work right. Now at WWDC, they didn't address any of that. They acted as though everything was fine, which infuriated me further. My next hope is, my fingers are crossed, that they're going to have some AI conference at some point where they're going to say, here's how we're going to address AI, everybody. But I don't know. It's not even likely that they would do that. So I think Apple's Image Playground is okay. If you're in Pages and you invoke Image Playground, you can say, I want a picture of a camel walking in the desert in front of a pyramid, and it'll appear right inside your document. But I think the implementation is very clunky and it's got to get figured out because there's so many bugs. So I hope they improve it, but we shall see.
On a same note, kind of like that, the photos is okay, but what program do you currently use to do AI? And when I say AI, I don't do sky replacement or any of that. I think that's cheating. But
Yep.
like removing telephone lines or cars or people on a beach, things like that. What's your go-to?
Right now I use Cleanup, which is part of iOS, right? It's the AI part of iOS where you
Yeah.
use the eraser to just draw and on there. It doesn't always have the best results, but my backup really is it's called Affinity Photo. I
Yeah.
won't use Adobe products anymore. So for any of you who have also abandoned Adobe, and Al, here's a link prep. Serif, S-E-R-I-F, Serif, they're a United Kingdom company, has a suite called Affinity Bundle. It's designer, publisher, and photo. And Affinity Bundle is something like $150 for a lifetime. It's not a subscription. You just pay for it once. Paying for it once gets you all of the apps on your Mac, your PC, your iPad,
And
any
that's
of
the
your
beauty of it.
devices.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
it
beauty
goes
of it.
across and it acts the same.
And that will allow you to open a photo right on your iPad, zoom in, erase things. It's astonishing how powerful it is. And it runs like a champ. See, Adobe refuses to be active on your behalf. They just want to lay on your money. They don't want to stand up and exercise. They want to lay on your money. Affinity is hungry. They don't lay on your money. They're constantly recoding and making their products more powerful. When I pick up my iPad with Affinity Bundle on it, it is more powerful than this gaming PC that I'm using in front of me because the company, Serif, optimizes their software to work with the M chips. And I got to tell you, if you ever wanted Photoshop in the palm of your hand, real, super powerful Photoshop replacement in the palm of your hand, Affinity Bundle is it. So yep, Affinity Bundle would be my go-to if I wanted to really get into an image and do lots of editing on it. That's an amazing piece of kit right there.
And that over Pixelmator, Photomator now too.
Yeah, they've also gone into some weird business model.
Yeah.
It's just very difficult to use. This affinity bundle, and I think you can get a trial of it. I highly recommend it. Creating vector images for any of you who create, complex images in vector and you export them as SVGs or whatever. If you have a vinyl cutter, or a plotter of some sort, this affinity bundle will export an SVG that's readable by plotters. It's a Swiss Army knife and it does a lot of things really well. It may not have the vertical depth of Photoshop, but I guarantee everybody on this call, you haven't dug into anything more than 20% of what Photoshop has to offer. Nobody has exceeded the 20% mark on this call. And I dare you to challenge and show me how you get into channel color. It's just what I'm trying to say is Adobe Photoshop has always been a bloated farm animal that belongs with only the ultra professional who's looking for pixel level fidelity. Everybody else should not be interested in any Adobe product. Look at that Serif bundle. It's amazing.
And
Ooh.
Pete was a certified Photoshop
Yes.
credentialed
Certified Photoshop.
follower.
Hot Photoshop, hate Photoshop, hate Adobe. And believe me, you already know this. You don't have to take my word for it. They've given you reason to hate them over the years. They're slow, they're lazy, they don't update their software. They won't even bring you a iPad version of Photoshop, a real version. They just bring you all this subscription-based nonsense. It's terrible. Abandon them immediately. You don't hate them enough. Mary, one more. Sorry about all my ranting. Go ahead.
No, about your ranting, if somebody has used Photoshop on a photo and then they abandon Photoshop, and do those photos, how does it impact the photos that you've already played with, whether it's Photoshop or any of the other apps?
Great question. So when you use an app like Photoshop, it will save the project file as a PSD, right? You can always go back in and edit the project file. However, if you export that image out to a PNG or a JPEG, it's now a standalone file that's universally read because it's a JPEG or a PNG. You no longer have the project file. Well, you still have the project file that you can go in and edit. The project file suffix is .psd, Photoshop document. Affinity Bundle and Affinity Photo can open a PSD, a Photoshop document. So you can take all the documents you've created in Photoshop, open them up in Affinity Bundle, and manipulate them the same way as if you had opened them in Photoshop. If you have layers, if you have blurs, if you have different things you did with Photoshop, those will all be recognized and read by Affinity Photo, and you'll have the same capability. Different app. So it does have compatibility to not only read as PSD, but if you are working with somebody who only uses Photoshop, you can export your project as a PSD as well. Even if you're an Affinity designer, you can export it as PSD, and those people with Photoshop can read it. As a matter of fact, I work with big companies to create large banners and things like that for big events sometimes. And I do all my work in Affinity and I send it over to them. I have had multiple comments of people saying, your files are always lean, clean, and a lot of that is my obsessive nature. But I'll tell them it's because I don't use Adobe Photoshop. All that bloat and crap that gets in there doesn't get in there when you use this. And they go, man, I see that. It's really efficient document. I get compliments like that because the industry standard is Photoshop and everybody hates it. But when they see how clean these output files are from Affinity's designer bundle, it's amazing. So here's my little, I make no money off of Affinity Designer. I just really love it.
Affinity also interacts on the photo end of it with photos. It works quite well with photos, correct?
Yeah, because there's a photo app, there's a designer app, and then there's a publisher app. The photo app is, pure fidelity in photos. It basically, the 30% of what Photoshop does that everybody needs is an Affinity Photo. All that other junk is gone. And then designer is for creating vector-based images or SVG-based images. More like the Adobe Illustrator replacement would be designer. And then publisher is for those who are making magazines and stuff. You're making spreads and you need text boxes to flow throughout spreads and stuff like that. That would be publisher. The three of them are very powerful, incredible pieces of software. I highly recommend them.
But I was pointing out Affinity works and interacts with the Photos program
I see what you're saying. Yes, yes, you can save it, and then those changes will be saved to photo. But there is some complexity there. Like you'll open the project will stay open. When you export it, then you give it the permission to change the photo in your Photos app. And that differs between the iOS version and the macOS version. So it isn't seamless per se, but it is a handoff back and forth that is
Okay.
simple enough, in my opinion. Oh, this just in. This class has been extended another 3 hours. Great news. Okay, let's dig in. We have another 3 hour extension. I love it. No, you guys know I would definitely do it, but I want to be mindful of we're over by 3 minutes. So I want to check back in with the bosses around here and see how we're doing.
Uh, Pete, just as always, and I've seen some of the comments and stuff, it's just as always, your way of presenting and it blows me away every time, and I've been seeing it for a long time. And
Yeah, we've
thank
been doing this a while,
yeah, and
but
it's just it's what a gift, and thank you so much.
I appreciate you. I appreciate these invites. I really love coming here, and this is my favorite crowd to be with. So it's the pleasure's mine.
My brain is exploding.
Good. I like to
Don't
leave
get
you
any
with
on you.
I like to
And
leave
Pete,
you with
I'll
the
be-
wheels turning.
And I'll be in touch about some more dates for you.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Let's
And
do
Anne
it.
has her hand up too. One last one there.
Oh, hey Anna.
Hi.
Yeah, been a while.
One question was, you mentioned in June that you were thinking of doing classes in September. And
I
are
have
those
started.
happening, and how will we know about them?
Yes, I have started. I have started building that. ChatGPT has helped me, but I have started architecting that out. My plan is for everybody who is interested, I want to offer a calendar of classes in the month of September. I want to call it Empower Month. And those classes will be on the calendar, they'll be fixed times, and you can sign up for them. You can sign up to pay as you go because I'll have to charge for my time, obviously. But you can sign up as pay as you go, where I want this class and this class, and that's it. Or you can say, I want to buy a bundle of 8 classes, and they'll be discounted, and then you can pick whichever 8 you want. I'm really trying to get that figured out. I'm asking ChatGPT for help. It's been very helpful, but I would like for September to be the month where I get on here for about 30 hours throughout the month. Is what I've estimated. I'll offer 30 hours throughout the month of classes on different things. Those will include hands-on workshops and all the stuff we used to do, but all virtually. So I am really looking forward to that. There are things that get in the way and throw me off course sometimes, but I'm feeling good about this year being the year that I'm actually able to pull it off. And with AI's help, it's like a bicycle for my efforts. It really takes me very far with just the standard amount of effort. So it's really helpful. And then my content, as you know, is always the very best I can do. And so I always promise you that my content and my delivery will always be me, sincerely and quintessentially me. That's my brand, and I won't ever let those standards slide. So you know that if you sign up for anything in the month of September, you're going to get 100% of me.
And if
So
they
yes,
pay
look
for
out
it,
for
Will
that.
it be recorded?
yeah, I was going to say, if they pay for it, will they have access to the archive?
We are in discussions about that now, but absolutely, yeah, there'll be I want access to the recordings, and then that'll be an option for you as well.
EmpowerMac.com still exists if you need it.
It does. Hey, that might be a cool nostalgic blow the dust off of that and go to it. Yep.
And would you like it offered to the other Apple user group up here?
Incredible. Yeah. I humbly appreciate any word of mouth. I'm going to make a little promo reel that you can send around with a URL or a QR code at the end that people can get signed up. So
Awesome, Pete.
yes.
It's about damn time.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I may need some collaboration from some of you. So
Here's my money.
I'll second the
yes,
motion.
insert it all into the slot. I'll collect it in September. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I love to do this. I think that's what you guys are hearing when you listen to me, is that I love to do this. I think that goes a long way, and I think I really want to continue to offer that level of passion and energy that I bring in simplifying things. I have a vendetta against complexity. I just don't want it anywhere in my life. So I work really hard to chip away at things and make them simple and then bring them to you. I'll continue that commitment. So I
What
really
what
hope
is
September
amazing
works out.
what is amazing is you have so much energy to do all these different things.
Yeah, there's three 3D printers behind me right now, whirring away, building things. I mean, there's so much going on. So yes,
Well,
I appreciate that. So thank you very much for having me. It is indeed my pleasure and an honor to be such a close partner to you guys for all these years. So thank you.
thank you. It's infectious, and I think it's spreading, and there's no antidote.
Yeah, nope, there's no Indiana Jones antidote on the floor. Nope, you got to deal with me.
Thank you
Thank you,
again
everybody.
so much, Pete.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Pete.
it. Bye-bye.
All righty. Okay, Al, you got chat saved. I'll
Let me